would help if I took it off loop there.
Run it back.
Run it back. All right, everybody. Welcome to the 6th annual MLB draft show hosted by myself and Chris. And alongside me is Rhys White. Rhys White is right here right now. Colonel will join us shortly. Will be Trevor Hooth and Scott Bentley. Of course, Trevor, you can find him everywhere. Rhys, he works with you, correct?
Yeah, him and I work at Just Baseball together.
Yeah, Just Baseball. And Scott Bentley also freelance over at the Free Press. And Scott Bentley, good to see you, sir.
Hey, how's it going, boys?
Good looking sharp.
Hey.
Thank you.
Now, wait a minute. Now, right here, right now, that was the Jesus Jones song, right?
Yes.
Yeah, all right. Okay. Just for fun.
Yeah.
Not for the kids. That was a song in like 1990.
Yeah, way before these guys were even born. And Trevor is going to be joining us here shortly. But so Scott, yeah, you can find his podcast Locked on Tigers, and he's doing freelance work for the Free Press, right?
Detroit News.
Detroit News. My apologies.
One and the same,
So,
but yes.
One and the same. Yes.
Technically, I work for one side. Yes.
So some rules. I do have. Okay, so I forgot the mask. Somebody asked in the Deadly Ninja Bees in the chat. Did we get a Jesus Jones reference? Yes, we did.
We did.
Yes,
very,
we did.
Very quick Jesus Jones reference. Probably the quickest Jesus Jones reference yet.
Yeah. I did not bring the mask, but I had the pool ready. The pool was ready. So, and then Trevor join us with the Dylan Cruz, please, and rightfully so. So
yes, so the brick wall, Chris. Just so you know, the brick wall is for me to run through when the Tigers get Dylan Cruz. All right.
I heard
brother.
you guys on the preview show. I was busy writing a Dylan Cruz scouting report to put up immediately once they draft him.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah. And by the way, so Elton, thank you so much.
Oh man,
exquisite.
Do we have to give the money back if they don't take Langford?
So heads up for the super chats tonight. We will, for a lot of the questions tonight, we'll field them as we go. But I don't want to interrupt our guests. So if a question comes up, we'll wait and kind of let it flow from there. But if you do have a super chat and you want to donate, by all means, please do so. That's awesome. Thank you, Elton. You're the man. We appreciate that. But I did bring an LSU cigar. So I did bring this in case the Tigers do, because this is an LSU thing. So
I got a couple. We can do cigars on stream here if we take somebody good.
Hell yeah. Is Sarah going to yell at me if I smoke this, Chris?
Not. No, she loves cigars. But,
okay.
But ideally not in my basement.
Okay.
I love the fact that you two just had a conversation on the stream in the same house looking at each other.
Yeah.
I could.
Hey.
Looking around. Yeah.
And there's no, and look, and for everybody who's watching us right now, do you hear that? Audio quality. No echoes.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
No nothing.
This is Raj on the fly. We were trying to set up where I normally do it, and we're having issues, so we just set up another table right around the corner from him, and here we are.
Yeah, and he's running right on the same board, and everybody's hearing the drops, and
lots of questions in here.
Who have any
CJ Snyder, he said, "Who are the?"
Who have any doubt you could come back and do this?
Sorry.
He said, "Who are the middle infielders?"
Who have any doubt you could?
Sorry, keep playing it. I don't know what
Who
to
have
do.
any doubt?
All right, I'm just gonna turn it off. Okay, I don't know what the hell's going on. It just randomly went rogue there.
But CJ Snyder has said, "Who are the middle infielders to watch for the two later picks tonight?" I would suggest checking out the article that I just published over at Tigers Minor League Report about middle infielders. We can name a whole bunch, but you might do better just kind of perusing that. And then Sean O'Toole, thank you very much for the donation. Give me Cruz or give me death. It was the Patrick Henry war cry, I believe.
So also, we're not going to be dicks and blow the pick. So we're going to wait until the pick officially comes in on TV, and we'll do that. So if you're asking, really, what do we like? Who do we like? There's a couple of, I think our five. I like to think our five is very different and very unique. And so while I pull that up, and is Rob Banfield already on the mic?
He is. He's getting booed like hell. I love it.
Good. Yeah, what an idiot. You put the Futures game on Peacock, and I don't know if anybody, again, why? I don't know.
There's money to be made, that's why.
Oh, of course. Well, go figure. I understood there's probably going to be that element, but either way, he's still a dick. So, but at any rate, so, yeah, there's a lot of intrigue right now. So basically, Pittsburgh's setting it up for everybody else to make their picks here. And so, gentlemen, what do you think Pittsburgh's going to do here? Are they going to go, and I'll start with you, Rhys, Are they going to go in with the Max Clark idea here?
I don't know. I really think they should go with the Wyatt Langford idea, but I'd imagine that with Max Clark being mentioned as low as 8, that the savings there could be pretty substantial. And if that does happen, they could really get creative with their later picks, which I believe are off the top of my head, I don't remember because I only remember the Tigers picks this time.
42 and 67.
42 and 67. So they could really buy down some of those. A really interesting prep player, another probably prep pitcher. Seems like Thomas White seems to be the guy who everyone seems to think that people will go and spend quite a bit of money on with their second pick. But yeah, I think I would go Langford, but I could see the Max Clark thing happening.
Yeah, so right now they have 2 minutes and 50. They're on the clock now. So what I love about the MLB draft, it's not the NFL draft where it's 15 minutes and we already know what's going to happen, and the entire time it's filled with dead air talk like we're doing right now. But we'll be showing highlights tonight of these prospects and more. So another thing I wanted to mention too is we're going to be streaming the entire draft tonight. So we'll be sticking around the entire first round. At some points I do have to dip out because I have some press duties to do. So Chris and I find these fine gentlemen will be able to run this. So
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. No, you guys are fine.
I've got well, that's not about those guys. It's about me trying to figure out how to share screen without creating a concatenation of window into nowhere.
Oh,
but Kylie and Longenhagen have the Tigers picking Dylan Head at 37. Interesting. The outfielder from Illinois, I want to say.
Yes, he is. He's a prep from Illinois.
Interesting. Yep. But yeah, because I have as Rhys was talking to about the money savings, I have a whole spreadsheet there where I can just enter in various values and you can see how much money various teams will be able to save or how much over the slot they'll be. I just need to know how to share my screen. So.
I'll help you.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm literally right around the corner from you. So this is
that does help me. Yes.
Yeah.
My IT support.
All right. So anyway, at any rate, so we do have Chris, can you do me a favor and show the link to Discord, please?
Yeah, we're put it in the chat.
Yeah.
All right, just 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah.
So anyone but Cruz, right?
Anybody but Cruz. Look, let me ask you guys a question here. I'll ask. I'll start with you, Trevor, then Scott. Were you guys totally against the idea of drafting Paul Skeens at all? Because I was. I'll freely admit it.
I am not against it. I just said this on the pre-show. I said it with Scott a few days ago when we did Locked On Tigers. There's not a scenario where the Tigers walk away with Paul Skeens and I'm going, oh, come on, right? You're still getting Paul Skeens. You're getting a really good pitcher. Personally, I would prefer it to be a hitter. I want Cruz. I want Langford. And if you're not going to get one of those two and it comes down to Skeens and you want to take Kyle Teal, I'm cool with that too. I think that a hitter fits a little. I know you don't draft for need, but I think a hitter fits a little bit better with what they currently got going on. So I wouldn't be upset with Skeens necessarily, but I think I'd prefer to go a different direction.
Me?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
We also, by the way, we have somebody in the chat so they're here just for you. Well.
Oh, well. I mean, everyone here is fantastic, but I appreciate it.
Scott's a 3-time guest, or
I'm more than that. I think I
no. I mean, on the draft show.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Well, I mean, so yes, I had Hooth on. Was that last week? To kind of talk about that scenario and what the best way to approach that is. I mean, Langford and Cruz both being gone is my worst case scenario, and I'm sure it is for a lot of other people. I like the prep bats, so I would be more but that's such a difficult conversation. Like, that's such a tough sell to be like, yeah, we're going to take a high school bat over the best college pitcher in the last decade. Like, that's a really tough sell no matter what position your organization is in. I don't know. I kind of agree that Pittsburgh's going to go Langford, so I think we're good, but it's really terrifying, honestly. Like, I'm not going to be upset with Skeens in the same conversation and kind of the same lines that Hooth just said, but I mean, I wouldn't lie to you. Like, I very much am going into this draft with the mindset of the goal tonight is to add an impact bat.
Well, let's be real, Scott.
So-
I mean, let's just think about this for a second about the prep guys, right? The Tigers 2 years ago, the first year that we did this draft show, or at least I was on it, they took Jackson Jobe.
Right.
And I don't know that the fan base has forgiven Scott Harris for Al Avila picking Jackson Jobe. So if they take a prep tonight, they might, I said this on the pre-show, they might not have an office to work in tomorrow.
No, you're right. I mean, the fan base, I think a large portion of the fan base would be very upset with a prep bat over Paul Skeens. I completely agree. It's just, you're really between a rock and a hard place there. I
don't think it's going to be an issue.
I don't
agree
either.
with
I don't either. I don't even think the preps are in the conversation, to be honest with you.
I don't think Skeens will be an issue either.
Okay.
I
Well,
also
here we go.
agree with that. I think the lock of the draft is Skeens to Washington.
It's got to be.
Here's-
They seem to love him so
They're
much, and I
announcing-
think that's the biggest question. Sorry, Raj.
That's okay. The pick is in, and it looks like we don't want the sound on over here because we don't want to get sued because if we had any sound,
I have mine muted too. I just see Manfred's face. He's staring right into the sun, dog. That's tough.
he got a good tan going.
I'm sorry. Are you feeling bad for Manfred right now, Scott? Raj will kick you off this thing.
I'm just saying, I think he would gain some cred if he put some sunglasses on to announce the picks. That'd be kind of sick.
That would be sick, but he doesn't do anything cool, so
Oh, he got Ken Griffey Jr. to come out and do it instead because he knew he was going to get booed. That's smart. Good play.
Good play. No, absolutely. So
We're spoiling no picks, right? Not just the Tigers pick.
yeah, exactly.
Fair enough.
We're not going to do this. We're not going to be dicks. I promise you that much. Okay, so what are we doing here? Okay.
Now we're just waiting for the official announcement. I feel like we're all just waiting to talk now.
All right. It's a hometown guy, so there you go. He's telling everybody to calm down.
Yeah.
I like his jacket, by the way. It's a nice suit game. All right, so this is Chris's favorite top fives. Here's Trevor's.
You are not showing anything, Raj.
Yeah, I can't see it. It's
Paul Skeens.
Whoa.
They took Skeens?
Whoa.
I mean, I knew that already. I'm picking excitement, but still, that's crazy.
Yes.
Wowzers.
Wow.
So the Tigers are now guaranteed to get either Langford or Cruz.
They're guaranteed to have one of them available.
Correct. Yeah, I should say that. You're right. That's
Wow.
probably the much smarter way to put it.
I mean, that's kind of surprising pick here. I do think
ESPN might be ahead, by the way, Chris. It shows that we're behind somehow on the coverage.
I think ESPN's quite a bit
on the
ahead.
TV or on.
Yeah, put the ESPN feed on the TV.
Okay. Yep. No problem.
Just the fact that we don't know what this domino effect's going to be, right? We all kind of had an idea if Langford goes first, if Clark goes first, if Cruz goes first. We all kind of had an idea, I think, of how that draft goes. But now that Skeens goes first, I mean, who does Washington want?
Because Washington made no secret they wanted Skeens. They were going to take Skeens regardless of what happened.
This is why you should be able to trade draft picks. That package Pittsburgh would have gotten back for Skeens.
Nasty.
Great.
All right, we're switching to a liver feed, if you will. All right, and I'm going to stop sharing the screen. But I'm putting everybody's favorites in our chat. So if everybody wanted to check out who their favorites were, there you go. So Paul Skeens, number 1. We're 20 seconds behind. All right. So we're now caught up in here.
Man.
All right.
I mean, hard to say it's a bad pick necessarily for Pittsburgh. I mean,
They need pitching in their system.
Well, and we're sitting here talking about we don't really want Skeens on the Tigers. It's still a good pick, even at 1-1. It was hard to go wrong between those top 3.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so let me ask you guys this question. I'll start with you, Rhys. His slider fastball combo is really good. His change was rated at 50. How much more does he's going to need to develop physically in addition to that changeup?
I don't know. I think the changeup's a little bit better. I think the changeup's better than the slider personally. I know there was a lot of discussion today. I don't know if you guys got to see that. Like the pitch shape community is not a fan of Paul Skeens, which is interesting because it's maybe an 80 fastball with the profile and everything, but his command makes it play it down to maybe a 60 at the professional ranks. But yeah, I'm so sorry. What was the question? My mind's going.
No, it's okay.
I'm still flustered by the Paul Skeens going 1. It's
Really?
Well, I was asking how far.
I mean, the Pirates should have let us know. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. They should have let us know.
Exactly.
We knew Henry Davis was going to be the pick 15 minutes before the draft. It seemed like last time they had the number 1 overall.
Yeah.
Kind of rude on their part, honestly.
Well, I was, in terms of
How much more
what-
does he have to work on?
yeah, how much more he has to work on? In other words, yeah.
I don't really think he has to work on a lot. Just go out there. He's probably going to be shut down. Like, I don't think they'll have him throw at all until it instructs, and then just work on command and everything. I think the command could use a little bit of work, maybe some fastball shape tinkering and everything like that. But I think outside of that, he's a great prospect. Like in a normal non-Dylan Cruz year, I think he and Wyatt Langford, if you could separate them out of this draft class, would both be easy like 1-1 picks in any normal draft. But I think he's someone who maybe the development of a cutter helps him out a little bit. But I think right now the slider is really good. I've had conversation with people who think that maybe like he goes into a curveball and changes it more into like a curve. But that's something that he'll have to figure out in pro ball next year. Because I really don't think he's going to pitch it all this year.
Yeah.
Give him a knuckleball.
100
I gotta giggle.
by 58.
Hey, would you be able to time it up?
By the way,
No.
he is on the cover. If anybody looks at my camera, he is on the cover of Baseball America with Dylan Cruz. So I thought this was a fun cover, gold standard there. But
So what Rhys was saying, that was my thought on Skeens. That's why I'm saying I wouldn't be upset if you walk away with him, but that's not necessarily who I wanted, because when you look at him, where do you go? What do you do with Paul Skeens that he isn't already right now? And so you're basically taking LSU Paul Skeens and just dropping him in the majors, because I'm sure you tweak him a little bit here and there, but you don't want to do too much and you can't project too much, if at all. So you're saying, hey, maybe a cutter helps, maybe a slider helps. Maybe. But I think there's more room to grow into superstardom for Luke Cruz, for Langford.
Matt's pick is in.
All right, so let's see what the Nats do here as we get ready for.
Guys, what if they try to pick Skeens? What if they just turn it in anyway? Like, no, that's our guy.
That is actually our pick.
And the Nationals select. So I'm on the ESPN feed, so we should be right on time. And let's see here. Who are the Nationals selecting?
Okay, so
Dylan Cruz.
yep, there you go.
So
All right.
Good thing I wrote that scouting report.
There you go. It's
So
always how it
here's
works.
the thing, though, and Chris, I was just watching the College World Series, watching any college baseball game when Dylan Cruz or Wyatt Langford comes up. Every single announcer, every game would say something along the lines of, Wyatt Langford is basically Dylan Cruz. You just don't know if he can play center field.
Yeah,
right? And if that's the separator, you can just kind of keep the same scouting report. So go you.
Well,
Not
and
pissed.
there are some other smaller differences that don't get talked about as much, and it's sort of batted ball stuff.
Yeah,
you'll see that Dylan Cruz hits more ground balls than Langford. Langford's swing is built a little bit more for loft, and in fact, Baseball America had an article that he put out about contact rates and chase rates over the course of the season, and Dylan Cruz was a 75% contact rate with a 20% chase rate, and Langford was an 80% contact rate with a 21% chase rate. But Cruz had a higher 90th percentile exit velocity, if you care about that sort of thing. He hits the ball harder, more consistently. It's just a little bit more on the ground, which kind of explains the higher batting average. In college, you're just not going to have the defenders that you have in pro ball. And he's hitting the ball incredibly hard on the ground, too. So, I don't know. It's pretty close, but you're not wrong about that. Cruz played above average center field defense in college.
A really good center fielder.
And
he's one of those guys where it hits off the bat and you see him, he's already been in motion. Like, he's that good of a center fielder, it seems like. He gets those really good jumps.
And
sorry to cut you off, Chris.
Oh, no, it's fine. Yeah. And Langford, he mostly played left. He filled in at center a little bit, but it's confusing because sometimes he'll put in 70 grade run times from home to first. I remember I think he had like a 4.1 or 4.3 turn on a triple, which is crazy fast. That's average speed from the right side on just a dig to first. So, but he for whatever reason, the instincts, or they liked Robertson as much that they didn't play him in center. I think you'd put Langford in center at the beginning of pro ball, and if it doesn't work out, he's just fine in the corner. But I think Cruz might stick there for the first few years until maybe he loses a step later in his 20s.
And that's the good news, is if you take Langford, he doesn't wind up a center fielder, you're fine, because Riley Green plays you a good center field.
Yeah.
So you're not losing anything by not having him be a center fielder, and you're still getting a really good bat. I think you want Cruz because he's like the guy, but Langford is also the guy, and I think he's going to be hopefully a Tiger and hopefully a really good Tiger.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's who you hope they take here. I guess I wouldn't be terribly upset if they took Jenkins or Clark. Anybody outside of that three might cause some issues. I don't know. Raj,
I will fight you on Kyle Teal. Give me Kyle Teal, and I'll be happy with it.
What'd you say, Chris?
Do you have the ability? Do you have the ability to like play Brent Manfred's announcement over the loudspeaker? Over the?
I could.
I feel like that might be.
Yeah.
fun.
It'll be some finagling, but I think I could get it done.
I mean, I hate to, throw that on you right now. It probably doesn't matter, but
You know what? I think I can do that. Continue on.
But yeah, I didn't really. Going back to Skeens, I didn't chime in on that. But the thing that you heard a lot of people talking about was like, it makes sense for the Pirates because they're never going to sign a pitcher like this. They're not going to get him anywhere else. You're not going to get an ace level potential ace pitcher elsewhere. So it made sense. And probably what they did.
Our pick is in, I believe.
All right, let me see if this works, guys. If you can hear this, let me know. I think I figured it out. Maybe.
Oh, interesting.
Fiddlesticks. Oh wait, hold on. It would help if I turned up the sound. Guys, keep talking, so I'm not looking awkward at the moment.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've got people saying.
Field. Now, if a team has a plus
chat,
defender, they'll slide him over to right.
everybody hear
Maybe in
that?
his late 20s, he slides over to the right.
Sounds good to
He
me.
can play an average center
Yeah,
field.
sounds good to me.
And
Is everybody
might have
here?
the
Okay,
power
awesome.
for 30 home runs and hit 280 or
Thank you,
300.
Chris.
He can do all of that stuff.
All right, now the Tigers are on the clock, and you start to think about Walker Jenkins, Max Clark, and, of course, Wyatt Langford. Those are
Can
the
everybody
three
in the
of
chat
five that we all
see
talked
and hear the
Yeah, everybody
audio?
seems to be in agreement on who the
So
top
anybody
five
who's out there,
are.
so
It'll be interesting to see if it'll hold the script like we think, and Langford will be next, or if they go with one of the high school bats.
It's going to be interesting. It really is because I love the high school bats. Max Clark, you look at what he can do, and we'll continue to talk about him later. But the legs play true, and the swing is well advanced for a high schooler.
And from the handicapping perspective at one, I think we had it narrowed down to 2 or 3 guys. We had 2 guys at there. It could be anybody here.
And you know what's nice? The feed on.
Here we go.
Of the 2023 MLB draft, the Detroit Tigers select Max Clark, an outfielder from Franklin Community High School, Franklin, Indiana.
So Wyatt Langford doesn't go 1, 2, or 3. The Tigers elect to go with the blonde kid, Max Clark, 6'1", Vanderbilt commit out of Franklin, Indiana, the best prospect from that state since perhaps Ryan Bullington, who, again, the Pirates took number 1 overall in 2002. What do we like about Max Clark?
Are we going to listen through this? All right.
No.
Let me try to put a positive spin on this because I just wrote Max Clark up for Baseball HQ this morning. You're getting a guy who can impact the game potentially with all 5 tools. He is a tooled up kid. He's got a really good swing. He's got some power. He's also Instagram famous. So that's a plus, I guess. But no, it's oh my gosh. I remember doing this the Jobier too, where I'm like trying to justify it. Look, it's not a bad pick, right? We all wanted Langford. I get it. The same way we all wanted Marcelo Meyer. It doesn't make Jackson Jobe a bad pick. It doesn't make Max Clark bad at baseball. That's important to know right away, right? Max Clark is a very good baseball player. He has a very, very high ceiling. He has the ceiling to be the best player out of this draft, potentially. That is a very, very low percentage outcome. Probably not going to happen. But you get a guy who has some talent. He's fast. He's got some pop. He hits the ball. So it's not terrible in the sense of the Tigers got a really good baseball player. It is terrible in the sense of the Tigers could have gotten Wyatt Langford.
I don't know what Scott. You looked like somebody hit you right in the dick. So
No, I mean, so here's it's a great description. So I actually really like Max Clark, the baseball player. I think I put him as one of my favorite players. You asked us to give you 5 players that we liked, and I went 5 that weren't one of the big 3. So like obviously I was preferring Wyatt Langford, but I actually really like Max Clark's profile. There's certainly a lot that, I mean, with any prep player period, right? There's certainly a lot of risk that comes with that, and Langford's more polished and closer to Major League ready, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, to kind of echo some of what Hooth just said, like Max Clark he has tools. I mean, this is a kid that can really impact the game in a lot of different levels. Certainly doesn't have like the power profile that Jenkins or Langford has, but I mean, throws like 97 from the mound when he pitched in high school as well. So like you're getting a fast kid in center field that's tooled up with arms. He's athletic. He had like an 800 OBP. It's high school, I know, but like, he gets on base like a madman. Like this isn't like some, like this is the worst pick of all time and like whatever. It's just the reason why I looked like I got punched in the dick was because Wyatt Langford's still on the board, not because Max Clark is some like player I think is going to be terrible. It's just the risk of Max Clark is like Langford higher floor and maybe even higher ceiling, to be honest with you. But Clark certainly does also have a very high ceiling to go with it. It's just the shock value of taking him over Langford that I think is the thing that's getting to me at the moment.
And one thing that just one more point that I want to make, and then sorry, I'll let other people talk. I don't mean to dominate here, but one point to make is that prep bats aren't the keep him in the minors for 5 to 7 years until you see him in the majors anymore. They don't have to be. So if Max Clark shows up and balls out, like if he just does his thing and he is the Instagram star we know he is. I keep saying that because I'm a little in shock it's not Wyatt Langford, and that's what Max Clark is really known for, is Instagram, right? But if he comes out and he performs well, the Tigers could be aggressive and push him through. Jackson Holliday is in Double-A right now. Okay, and even if you're not the Jackson Holliday level, let's go with a guy who's supposed to be below the level of Max Clark. Let's go with Kobe Mayo. He was taken in 2020, I believe, and he just got promoted to AAA today. That's why he's on my mind. So 3 years removed from his draft, and he's in AAA. I know both of those are Orioles, and the Detroit Tigers are not Baltimore, but if Max Clark performs, he doesn't have to be this, we're 5 to 7 years away from seeing what we got in this draft. He could be pushed quickly if he's a good hitter. We saw Riley Green got pushed a little quicker than that too, in a way. He's still a little bit, but there's a chance that Max Clark can move through the system quickly if he's as good as he's touted to be.
Chris, what about you? I mean, yeah, what's your thoughts on this whole thing?
Well, I mean, I had kind of my heart set on Wyatt Langford like everybody else. But I don't have any real problem with the Max Clark pick. I mean, he was part of that, generational top 5 for a reason. He came into the year, the draft process is one of the best high school hitting prospects in the last few years. It's an above average hit tool. It's plus speed, maybe plus defense in center field with a very strong arm. The only huge question about him is how much power is he going to get to, because he's kind of maxed out his frame already. But we know the Tigers had him in for a private workout, right? They probably had a lot of people in for a private workout, but I'm sure they had him hooked up to every possible, heart monitor and power monitor. And maybe he was hitting tanks to the picnic porch. We don't know. Maybe he's got that sneaky Corbin Carroll power. And then you got yourself a center fielder with, plus power and a 5-tool player. And I know people are disappointed because they feel like, oh, this is an indication that it's more years of rebuilding. That by the time he gets up to the majors, Riley Green will be seeking his new contract and stuff like that. Like you guys are saying, it doesn't necessarily have to be like that. If he's as advanced as a hitter as we think, he could move pretty quickly. So I'm not. I found it shocking, but I'm not necessarily disappointed about.
I'm a little shocked. I'm not disappointed either, and I'll go into Max Clark. I'll be right back. I'm going on with the White Sox guys real quick, as Wyatt Langford now pick number 4 to the Texas Rangers. But yeah, it just shocked me because I would think this was. I don't know. I don't know what to think right now, but I think it's a good pick, but I just think one of those guys. And Trevor, you might be right. He might be in Double-A by the end of next year. Who knows? But I'm just, I'm a little.
Yeah.
All the rumors we heard with college bats, maybe it was all a giant smoke screen.
Well, I mean, it's a good sign. We were talking to some people down. We were at the Tiger.
Hello?
Yeah, that was
Chris, I think we lost your audio, man.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no one can hear you, Chris.
Reese, what are you thinking about Clark?
I'm a little disappointed. I was really hoping for Langford right there, but I really think the thing with Clark is the advanced like hit tool to go along with the defense and everything. And if there is more power to come, then I think this guy could be on like a Corbin Carroll-esque path. I don't know if he's going to be in Double A like Jackson Holiday, like but just comparing best prep player to best prep player. But I really, I think it's a interesting decision. I almost really wish we knew the signing bonus so that we know what's going to be coming around at 37, because 37 could be a really good arm. Like I mentioned earlier, Thomas White seems to be the guy that everyone wants to flip down. Great last name, by the way. But he, Thomas White, if they get Thomas White at 37, I think that's a really good pick. I was really expecting to go in today being like, okay, Dylan Cruz at 3, spend the $10 million or whatever it is, and then 37, whatever, and then kind of go from there. But now I think with this pick, it really opens up the entire draft for the Tigers. They can start talking to advisors and everything, float some guys down. So it allows a little bit more flexibility. And like I've been seeing, Max Clark has been all the way down at 8 in some mock drafts. So maybe there is some smoke that this is a pretty significant underslot bonus too. And he's not a bad player. He's just the 5th player in a 5-player draft.
Yeah. Chris, I think your audio's out again. I think that that's another thing to really remember throughout this entire thing is like Reese said, like the slot is very, very important. I'm sure to this pick, I'm sure that they got him for I'm not going to say significantly, but it wouldn't shock me if they got him for pretty comfortably under what they would have had to give Langford. Not to say that automatically makes it the right pick or that passing on Langford is like completely justified then, but they do have, like 2 more picks relatively early, and using that money that they won't use on Clark, you assume that maybe they try to poach, prep players in those rounds too, which maybe they wouldn't have been able to do if they got Langford. And yeah, like I said, I mean, I'm a pretty big Clark guy as is. Like I'm not, like grabbing my pitchfork for this pick. I'm not like, the world is not ending to me for this pick. It definitely, I would have gone Langford for sure, but I mean, Max Clark, when you're talking about ceiling, has one of the highest ceilings in this entire draft, and was a clear cut. There was a clear top 5, and he was in there. It's just a matter of I guess your individual opinion on the difference in ceiling between Langford and Clark at the end of the day. But yeah, I think to Reese's point, the money, the pool money and the slot money for what they do with their next 2 picks is almost guaranteed was a factor in this decision.
I am going to say the same thing now that I probably said when Joe was picked, because I feel the same way. I don't love the strategy of signing under or of drafting under slot to save money for later. And for me, just like when Job was picked, if you're going to take a guy 3rd overall, I don't care if you save money. I don't care if you go over slot. I don't care if he's right at slot. If you have the 3rd overall pick, I feel like you need to take your guy. And I think Job was Avila's guy back in the day. I hope Clark is Harris's guy, because Harris has shown us he's a smart dude. So I would put blind trust in Scott Harris, I think, just based on some of the moves he's made. But if Clark is your guy in Detroit and you're able to save money, that's awesome. If Job is your guy and you save money, then you go get Ty Madden and Pacheco and whoever else with the savings, and you make that top 3 really good. Great. If they wanted Langford and that was their guy and they couldn't do that, that's great too. But I have to believe that they are in love with Max Clark, and Max Clark is their guy. And now they have the benefit of extra money for 37 overall, but I don't necessarily know they need it. I mean, the Tigers have the 2nd highest draft pool money other than the Pirates, right? So I don't know that you necessarily had to hurt in your over under slot here with 3rd overall, but I like Max Clark, like you guys. I hope that they use the savings well. I think they did last time to get Madden and to get Pacheco. But I just need to believe, and I genuinely hope that they saw Max Clark, fell in love, and they're like, this is our guy. And they had on a Post-it note, Max Clark, no matter what.
All right. No, I can probably throw that on.
Oh, we can hear you. What's up, Chris?
Hey.
Computers. I went to where Raj was, because he's going on with Chicago guys are going on with the Tigers or something.
Chicago guys, yeah.
Yeah, what I'm going to try to do here is I'm going to try to share my screen. I know you guys are talking about bonus pool shenanigans, and if I can do this properly, we can have a little fun looking at how that plays out in actuality. I just have to.
I do. While he's pulling that up, this morning during my final draft preparations, I found the guy I want the Tigers to take at 37, even though there's almost no chance he's there. And if they take Walker Martin, 37th overall, if he's there, I'm all for it, even though I've seen him be much higher. It is very rare with the amount of baseball that I've seen. I'm sure you guys are the same way, that you see something and you go, oh my gosh, and you're just taken aback and you have to verbally say something to yourself because no one's around you. But that happened to me with Walker Martin. And so I would be really happy if he dropped and the Tigers were able to use these savings to get him at 37.
Yeah,
I almost wonder. Oh, my bad.
No, go ahead.
I almost wonder if they are going to stack up with prep players at this spot.
Mhm.
It's like obviously you're not going to buy down a college guy. College guys kind of have very limited leverage. We see guys go back all the time, but we don't really see them like at this point in the draft go back. So I'm really interested to see. I really hope it's not a pitcher. Like prep pitching scares me. It's like terrifying. I wouldn't draft one with the first 5 picks. Like that'd just be like a rule. I'd write down. I get it like tattooed on myself like memento style. Like I would not be drafting prep pitching in the first 5 rounds of any draft. I know it's a bad thing to like think about, but I think it tends to work out better more often than not. Just prep pitching is so dangerous. They're so far away. I mean, look at Jackson Joe. I mean, I think this is a great pick, and he's been pitching fantastically since he came back. But we're still waiting. We're going to be waiting quite a while for that pick unless they really start to ramp him up. Which I'm really hoping that they start doing that here soon. But yeah, I really am interested to see what prep player falls. Like, I don't think they're going to get the kid from Florida, Arjun Navala. But I mean, in that sort of range of players, because after 5, it sort of really takes a dive in tier of caliber player. So it's like from 5 to like 15. It's all sort of the same caliber of players. I wonder if we're going to get one of those type of players.
Yeah, there's always prep bats that fall, always prep arms that fall, just because, like you said, they have stronger commitment than people realize, or for whatever reason, teams go with the safety of a college bat. And it's funny, so far the draft has gone, the top 5 have gone 1 through 5, just not necessarily in the order we expected.
Right.
So can you guys see this spreadsheet then?
Yep.
You see that on the screen? All right. Yep. So if anybody can see this, I want to show, I've highlighted here, that's the leftover amount. If the Tigers went full slot on every one of their picks over here, that's how much leftover they would have. With the tax overage, you can go up to 5% over your total bonus pool before you lose draft picks and stuff. So, so this first pick right here is 8.341 million. If we assume that they, Max Clark agreed at 70 or 7.5 or something like that, because as I think Rhys was saying, you saw him down as far as 8th.
As far as 8, yeah.
So their leftover jumps to 1.6 million. And then so you can add that to this 2.3 million for their second pick, and you got about a $4 million offer you can make, which over here on the right equates to about the 18th overall pick.
Sure.
So the idea being, now this is if they saved any money. They may not have.
Yeah.
So that's actually, there was somebody dropped a question. Why would Clark agree under slot? He has more leverage than college players, right? Because he could honor his commitment to Vanderbilt. And that's kind of just relevant to this. And what it is, I mean, we talked about this with Job too, right? Everybody's talking numbers. These players are talking numbers with these teams. And what the Tigers can do is go, hey, right now, this is where you're projected to go, but we like you a lot. We can take you at 3. You can be the 3rd overall pick, but we want you to get similar number that you get it at 8, right? Or wherever the case may be. And I'm sure there's other stuff that goes into it, but that's how I think about it. But just if you guys might have better answers to that question.
Yeah, and some guys have that's 1 too many zeros. Some guys have high bonus demands, but they don't necessarily actually want. We talked about this with Colt Keith. Colt Keith had a pretty high bonus demand, but did not want to go to school. And I think Max Clark might be one of those guys. There was a lot of rumors that he really wanted to be 1-1 just for the cachet of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I just plugged in here like a $4 million deal to the second guy, and then the Tigers are over by $61,000, which they could easily cut in any of their next picks. So that was just a little bit of how the math works there, if people could see it. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, that's speculation that he took an underslot deal. To Trevor's point, he probably was just their favorite player among the non Dylan Cruz cohort. So who knows if they were counting on Dylan Cruz to be there, counting on Skeens to go number 2. I mean, everybody was talking about Skeens was the lock of the draft, right, at number 2. Well,
yeah.
Pirates threw some water on that, so now you got to adjust. And the A's,
Chaos is the lock of the draft. Every year, chaos is the lock of the draft.
So Jacob
Wilson
was
to the A's, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's son of Jack Wilson, former All-Star shortstop for, I believe, the Pirates.
Yeah, Pirates. Yep.
Insane contact ability. But
his hands are crazy. His ability to get the bat to every part of the zone is insane.
I want to say he struck out 4.5% throughout his career in college, like literally like 30 strikeouts in 3 years. But with that comes he swings all the time. He swings at basically everything. The walk rate is fine in college; it's like 8%, but it's probably going to be more like 4 or 5% in pro ball. And then the question is the power. He does not have top end exit velocity at all. It was like his 90th percentile exit velocity was like 100 miles per hour this year, which is not good. But he is 6'3" and like 190, so maybe he's going to grow into some power.
That just tells me he was 1 year too late to be 3rd overall.
Yeah.
Last regime would have loved him. But I just going back because just since you guys said maybe we're getting an all prep draft or a heavy prep draft, it just got my wheels turning in my head. Because also on the pre-show, for those of you who were there, we talked about the trade deadline coming up and what they should do. And my point was sell because the Scott Harrison company want to get their guys in, right? So if you go all prep, you're banking on this group giving the Tigers a very large number of their guys, right? They don't necessarily have to be college. If they want to develop prep guys and really put their stamp on the system, that might be the route that they decide to go. And that could be what led to them getting Clark. Also, maybe they say, you know what? We like the guys that are coming up the pipeline. We like that we have Colt Keith to play here in a month. We like that we have Parker Meadows. We like all these guys. We think we can compete with these guys. So what we can use this draft for is trying to restock the farm with guys who can be pushed in once this era ends and try to create a longer window of competitiveness. At this point, I think I'm just thinking too hard about it, but these are thoughts I have.
No, I think that's a smart way to think about it. Like, I mean, the Tigers aren't competing this year, and they need to establish their next wave because the previous regime has really done a bad job of stocking the low minors with talent. Like, I mean, unfortunately, Christian Santana doesn't seem like he's going to pan out at this point. I hope things change. It's just things are not working for him right now. He was supposed to be someone that was supposed to be big. I can't remember any like high school picks. Like I cover the single A team for Prospects Live every day, and I'm just like looking at that team like, man, that is so devoid of talent. So the injection of talent into the lower levels of the system creates a second wave of prospects. Once Colt Keith, Jahen comes up, if Parker Meadows becomes something, I'm trying to think Tyler Madden if he's something. So yeah, I think I like that. I like that thought process.
Yeah, that is fascinating. That's an interesting perspective to look at it, kind of a second wave type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing, I don't know if we've talked about it really, but you know, this is not just the Scott Harris show, right? I mean, he makes the final decision here, but you've got Mark Connor as the new scouting director, and you got Rob Metzler as the, I think, assistant. He's the head of something. Mark Connor made a habit of drafting high school players for San Diego, going back to, I don't know, you know, what Weathers, Ryan Weathers, and guys before that. And I don't think San Diego was upset by taking James Wood and Jackson Merrill. So I trust that guy's eye when it comes to high school players. They've done a pretty good job doing that. So yeah, maybe who knows? I mean, that was one of the things we thought we might see with this new regime was not just in the first round, but more prep players in the ensuing rounds as well. So that'll be something to keep an eye on for sure.
And nobody's saying Max Clark is a bad baseball player. That's what gets lost. I think that's what got lost with Job, right? Nobody's saying this guy's terrible. What are you doing? What we're all saying is there was another guy we wanted. and so that it's still Max Clark. Max Clark is so good. And once you get over the shock and Scott recovered, so that's good. But you realize he's a good player.
Yeah. I mean, again, this was one of the consensus top 5 players in this draft. Yep. There was generally the college guys in the top 3 and then the 2 high school bats. So maybe the Tigers overdrafted by 2 spots, right? It's not that big of a deal, but I understand people get their heart set on a specific player, and then it doesn't happen, and this upset ensues. But I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing too. I think that everybody just in the world has like the instant reaction, like, oh my goodness, whatever, on like everything that happens. And like again, I mean, I think everybody up here has voiced the opinion that like they probably would have preferred Langford, but I think once the dust settles, and again, like Clark was probably my favorite player in this draft outside of the top three, like the mock's top three. So I think when the dust settles, people will and obviously good play fixes all, right? If he goes in and starts off in West Michigan or wherever they're going to put him in the second half of the season, and he immediately starts like hitting well and running all over the field and playing plus defense and stealing bases and blah, 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 then people are going to be like, oh, well, look at this. But he's going to be compared to Langford forever, just like Job and Meyer, right, within the fan base. Doesn't matter how good Max Clark is, it's how much better is he than Langford, and that's the frustrating part of the whole thing.
Well, and just to be as direct as possible for what you're saying, Scott, just because you wanted somebody else, it does not make the pick bad. And I think that reigns true for Job. I mean, it's going to reign true for Clark, I think, for a few years or for a little bit until he shows out. So I just because you wanted somebody else doesn't mean that it's a bad pick. And the good news about a bat, especially a prep bat, there's a solid chance we're going to get to see a little bit of Max Clark before the year's over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's sort of selfishly, I was talking about it yesterday. I thought if they were able to land Cruz or Langford, you're looking at a guy who would probably head straight to high A West Michigan for maybe a month, and then theoretically be able to go up to Double A Erie for the playoffs.
Just and like now, they did with Jace Young, drop him right in.
Right. And now I assume that Clark is going to head to the Florida Complex League and then spend some time in Lakeland for Rhys to cover. But we won't. Maybe we'll. I think the Tigers play at Bradenton one more time this year, so we'll get some footage of him on MILB TV, but I don't think we're going to see him in person this year unless we go down to Florida. So, uh-oh, Raj, we can't hear you.
Oh, you're muted though. It just says you're muted. There you go.
There you are. He's now in the backyard of my house. Yes, I hear you.
Nice pool.
Thank you.
Is he jumping in?
I believe that's the reason.
Max Clark is. Look, my initial reaction was a little harsh, and I apologize. As a professional, that wasn't the reaction I was looking for. But I was surprised because this regime did a really good job of fooling us all. They were saying college, they're not going to go high school bats. They were very adamant. We kept hearing that. And Max Clark is going to be a good player. He's got a great hit tool, fantastic on defense. Somebody's talking about his social media presence. If he can hit the ball, I don't really care. So for me, it's just one of those things where I just think that with the lack of power in the minors we have right now, I mean, it's not nearly what it was. That's my disagreement with it, is it's going to take him some time to develop that power tool. Now, if he develops right away, then I'm totally full of crap, and so be it. Mm-hmm. But I just look at it as right now, with the lack of power, with the upside of Langford there in power-wise, I don't know. But they did their homework. I mean, this is the same team that signed Zach McKinstry. We all were like, well, this guy, bats 089, but he came out and raked. It's the same team that found Tyler Holton, and he was one of the leaders or rookie leaders in ERA. So I have to trust the process. And really, again, it's not. I mean, no offense to Kyle Teal, it's not Kyle Teal at 3. It's they got who they were targeting, and if they went with Teal, I would have been fine too. But my point is, at least the Tigers are willing to. I trust what they're doing right now. More so, if this was a Vila thing, I'd be a little leery because we've seen this development before, Trevor. You know exactly what I'm talking about. They're like, hey, go play your game. But this time around, they've been able to develop guys out of nowhere. So
Raj, while you were gone, what we were talking about, or what was brought up for half a second here, is that they might go heavy prep in this draft and kind of reshape a second second coming of prospects because they like what they have now in the upper minors, just restock the lower minors to extend a competitive window.
That would make a lot of sense.
Really quickly, prep frenzy happening. Blake Mitchell just goes to 8.
Wow.
Is that 4 prep bats already in the first 8 picks?
Blake Mitchell went this early? That seems early.
Is that 3?
I think it's 3.
Is it
yeah,
just
well,
the 2 and then Mitchell?
There was a lot of smoke about Mitchell to the Royals.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
It is interesting that they're taking him over Teal.
Yeah.
Considering, I mean,
Yeah,
Mitchell's got more power.
Mitchell is very Tyler Soderstrom-y, if you ask me.
Mitchell.
I get the
I mean,
Soderstrom
I'm a huge
last place.
Soderstrom fan, so I like Mitchell too. That's kind of where my mind goes when I see him, just a prep catcher with pop.
There was a couple of comments that I thought were interesting discussions just on comparing like Clark and Langford, and I know we're going to keep having to go back to that the rest of the night now, but
night.
Right.
Short.
The rest of eternity. Yeah, right. Someone had asked how much riskier is Clark over Langford, and then same person asked how much more upside does Clark have over Langford, which is kind of assumptive. Is that a word? But yeah, those were interesting questions that I figured were discussions just to compare those two as players more.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. You could argue that Clark has the higher floor because he's said to be such a good defender in center field, whereas Langford, there are defensive question marks there. But it's always riskier to take a prep kid than a college guy. I mean, 99% of the time. Sometimes you got J.J. Bleday going ahead of Riley Green, and you go, okay, that was a risk we didn't realize. But, yeah, compared and contrast those two, you got, I think, far more usable in-game power than with Langford right now, at least, and probably similar hit tools. So it's I don't know. It's power over versus defense and speed.
I made jokes. I know Raj brought it up. Oh, go ahead, Rhys. Sorry.
You're good. I think just Clark's ability to impact every aspect of the game just gives him a higher floor and the ceiling as well. Like if he does start hitting for like above average power and his hit tool is a 60, then I think that's about on par with what Langford is. And then you throw in the elite speed to go along with, he could probably steal 20, 30, maybe 40 bases if given the opportunity in today's stolen base environment. So I think the upside there is definitely super exciting. It's just, we wanted Langford. That's the thing that sucks.
Mm-hmm. I made the jokes about his Instagram and everything. Like, he's a good baseball player, guys, but also maybe they're thinking business-like because he'll bring in a bunch of new fans who are just Max Clark fans, and now they're like, oh, I like the Tigers now. They got Max Clark.
Oh, okay.
But an actual baseball point that I can make instead of a joke is that nope, I lost it.
Oh, I mean, fair enough. I liked the joke anyway. So
Thank you. Yeah, I'm here for jokes. But I remember. So I read one place that a comp for Max Clark at his peak might be a Grady Sizemore type player. You guys think of that?
I think. I mean, going into the draft too, he got a lot of. Well, him and Cruz both actually. He got compared to Cruz, which was kind of funny, just like like 3 years earlier. But
well, I mean, if he had told people, "Hey, I'm going to Vanderbilt," maybe he does follow that Cruz path. That's the thing. That's the kind of player you're looking at, because Dylan Cruz was not this Dylan Cruz,
right?
When he was first up for draft, he was potentially a first-round pick. He was thought of as a first-rounder or right after the first round. He said, "I'm going to LSU." And so he wasn't taken there, and all of a sudden, he's now Dylan Cruz 1-1. And if Clark had said, "Hey, I'm going to Vanderbilt because I don't want to, I just want to go to Vanderbilt. I want to get to school. I want to get my degree," whatever the case may be, and he played his couple of years at Vandy, he could be on this exact path that Dylan Cruz was on. But Max Clark is starting being projected higher as a draftee.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were concerns with swing and miss for Cruz in the summer circuit heading up to that 2020 draft, and he addressed that pretty well in college, I would say. But and Clark didn't have the best summer circuit either, but he went back and reworked his swing after that, and all the reports this spring were that he looked great. When our buddy Brian Sikowski went and saw him live a couple times and saw him hit 2 tanks in one game, and I thought, he was pretty impressed.
That's good. We like good players. We like talent.
Yes, we do. So yeah, it's been an interesting draft so far. You could argue the Tigers have had the biggest surprise pick. Maybe Jacob Wilson,
Chaos.
6, but that's about where he could have gone anywhere from like 6 to 20, I think.
Yeah.
Poor Chase Dolander going to the Rockies.
Rockies.
You knew someone was.
Pour one out for that young man.
Yeah, poor guy. I mean,
Poor guy.
Denver's beautiful. Denver's beautiful this time of year, if that helps him out.
I mean, hey, at a certain point, Dolander, Gabriel Hughes, if you want to go as far back as Ryan Rollison, they're going to be an amazing AAA rotation one day.
I will say this. I watched Gabriel Hughes pitch against Erie. He's at AA Hartford right now, and he was 90, 92. He was not the guy I thought he was when they drafted him. But he also managed to get through like 7 innings. So I don't know. It just was not impressive looking. But yeah, I don't know. It's always tough to be a pitcher in Colorado, as you say. But I don't know. And I also don't know if the Rockies are a great organization to fix what was ailing Dollander this year. He came into this year as the guy who people thought he was the guy that Paul Skeens became, right? This best pitching prospect in 5, 6, 7, 8 years because he was awesome as a sophomore. And something about he just wasn't very consistent this year. He would have a pretty good start here and there or a dominant start here and there, but never consistently dominating. And I remember hearing some concerns about injuries just based on the change to the shape of his slider and fastball this year.
We've had a couple of people say that Max Clark said he's getting Texas slot value.
So
you save one pick of slot. That's not bad.
Well, we can go back and
let's pull up the Chris Brown spreadsheet. That's my
right.
take.
Okay, we will do that. Let me go ahead and share the screen again. Present, share screen, Discord mock, share. Here we are. You guys can see this?
Yep.
So the Texas slot is 7.698. So we'll put that in here. 7698000. One more zero. Seems like too many zeros.
We do baseball, not math. Bear with us.
So yeah, so that
mathematical difficulties.
And it's the slot here 2309500 309,500. So that gives the Tigers $1.4 million to play with before cutting any deals with any of their subsequent picks. Whoops, I just deleted that one.
And remember, rounds 5 to 10 are famous for getting your college pitching, and that's where you can take some haircuts also. So all the haircuts, they can draft somebody, and it doesn't look like they have the slot money for it now, but they can finagle it later in the draft to save more money.
I apologize. I'm using Roger's Mac computer here, and I'm not a Mac person, so I'm screwing everything up. But
if you just press the back arrow in the upper left a couple of times, see like the arrow pointing to the left in the upper left corner.
Where?
You're
right here.
Down.
This guy right here.
Yeah. Press that.
All right. Thank you very much.
There you go.
All right. So yeah, as you see here, $1.4 million left over before making any deals over here. As Trevor was saying, there'll probably be a senior in here who's getting $50,000 or less. So they've given themselves some leeway to add another $1.5 million to the next pick or to the subsequent pick. So, I mean, one thing that I did see was that apparently Clark and Langford had the same advisor. So that's why there was some confusion about, because this is where a lot of the people who predict these things get their information from, right? They get it from agents, advisors, and so forth. So there was some confusion there because they put 2 and 2 together that the Tigers are talking to this advisor, but they don't know for whom. So the Tigers may have put that out there and said, we'll give you slot money for number 4, and whichever one of you wants to take it, we're drafting you. So that may have been it.
Yeah, that might have been.
I don't know. Raj, you...
I'll be there in a second. I'm just updating the tracker.
Oh, okay.
And hey, it's also possible, and this could have happened with Mayer too, that Langford asked himself out of the 3rd pick. Maybe he wanted Texas. Maybe he met with Texas and he liked the Rangers a lot. Maybe anything could happen, right? Because they do talk before the draft. They're not just drafting blindly. They know the numbers of these guys before they go into the draft. So it's possible that Langford goes in and gives a ridiculous number to the Tigers and a much smaller number to the Rangers because he sees the Rangers as a better situation for him, right? So it's hard to know what happens behind the scenes there, but it's entirely possible that Langford priced himself out of Detroit.
Noble Meyer, the Marlins.
Noble Meyer. All right. So a couple, more prep guys in our little Discord mock. I think somebody has taken a commanding lead, but nobody cares about that. The interesting thing about the Rangers is they don't have a second round pick or a third round pick. They have one of the smallest bonus pools in the draft, despite picking fourth overall. It's so if Langford wanted $8.5 million or more than the Tigers slot, they can give it to him, but it's going to really harm them.
It's that and a bunch of college seniors as their draft.
Pretty much. But
but that wouldn't be bad for where the Rangers are at.
No, not at all.
They got Wyatt Langford. They're chilling. I don't think they really even care about the rest of the draft in that regard.
Yeah, I don't think
they're going to sim. They're just going to put it on sim and go through the rest.
Assistant GM handle. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just meant that I don't think it's a situation where Texas was like, we'll give you this much more money. I think it was just, whatever the Tigers wanted to get a little haircut, I guess. And they got it. So we'll see how it plays out now with the next two picks.
Or again, I just saw him and said, I love that guy. That's my guy.
Yeah, but I assume that's part of it too. Like they love both of the guys probably. We're like, we like you both equally, but you're prettier in terms of taking less
Max
money.
does have the hair. I get it.
Yes. Kyle Teal still on the board.
I'm surprised the Marlins didn't pick him. Although it feels like it's an Angels pick to take the college bat who they could just throw into the majors next year.
Correct. A lot of people were mocking that today.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have hated Teal to Detroit, by the way. I think he's going to make somebody very happy, especially getting value like this. I mean, you're getting a catcher who has really good bat-to-ball skills.
Teal in the comp round?
Can match Dingler.
I question every hitter who comes from Virginia. It just scares me. Like it's just not a place that you go to develop and get any better. I just worry about how he translates from the professional rank, from college to professional ranks. I mean, that could just be jersey bias and everything, just what he puts on. But I don't know. Kyle Teal scares me. I feel like he has to go to the right situation. And
there's a long track record of hitters from Virginia who haven't performed really all that well in pro ball. You're right. It used to be like what the Stanford, the old Stanford swing that they would produce in college and get to pro ball and be no good. I think Zach Geloff, I think that's the older one, right, with the A's.
Yeah.
He's turned out to be okay. And, of course, Ryan Zimmerman was good back in the day. But, a lot of guys in between, like the McCarthys and those guys haven't really done anything. So that's a good, interesting it's kind of like we used to be biased against pitchers from Rice because we knew that their pitching or their coach used to just throw those guys until their arm fell off.
I just want to answer a question that just came through about the Royals pick. Mitchell he can touch 97 on the mound. I don't think he's thought of as a two-way player, but he has some really good velo. But I think most teams see him as a catcher because he's a really good defensive catcher from what I've read, and he has some raw pop. So to answer that, technically, I guess he could be because he throws 97, but I think most people think of him as just a catcher at the pro level.
Yeah, I mean, pitching's kind of like a fallback option there. If he doesn't hit, you go, all right, well, you got a hell of an arm. Get on the mound.
Hey, the Tigers probably might be in range to get the potential 6'7" two-way kid, Eldridge.
Bryce Eldridge, yeah.
Bryce, yeah.
That would be. I saw he was mocked to the Tigers a couple times and heading up to the draft, so that would be interesting.
I mean, to the if that's the correct number for Clark there, I mean they got money to play with now, which say what you will about the comparison between Clark and Langford, because people are going to talk about that for the rest of time now, but it does open the door for a little more flexibility and maybe just a complete to Trevor and Rhys's point earlier, complete infusion of just prep talent, maybe the next several picks.
Yeah, that would be pretty fun if it's it's the 2023 class, move it together for the next 3 years. Look at these guys go. But we know we've watched enough baseball that some of these guys will work out, some of them won't. But you get your hopes up on draft night, and
for sure,
who knows? Maybe it's a Tigers 1976 draft all over again.
As long as it's not an Elijah Green situation. I don't know if you guys have been following what's going on with him. He's everything. That's rough. As long as the prospect doesn't go that way, then that's fine. Or Drew Jones is injured, so like I don't want to be mean to a guy who's actually not playing. Not to spoil anything, but the Angels stay doing what the Angels, they stay on track with what they do.
Interesting.
Wow.
Oh, I missed it.
Nolan Shanuel.
Which I like him as a
Right.
player. It's just drafting a first baseman is always tough. Like it's always like a tough demographic. I mean, you can probably convince yourself he plays left field, but I do like the bat.
Yeah, and that's where Avila was actually really good because he drafted a third baseman first overall.
So, I mean, yeah, Shanuel has like if you have a draft, what do you call it? A computerized. Why am I blanking on this word? Right, that teams use to draft. They like automatically identify players based on
model.
their stats. A model.
model?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
lost the word
There you
model.
go.
Sorry about that. Maybe because I've never dated one. But yeah, his model stuff is ridiculous. So Shanuel hit 460 this year. He's playing for Florida Atlantic, but he did show out against the University of Florida in an early season matchup with them. So yeah, 444 he hit this year with 19 home runs, 71 walks, and 14 strikeouts. So it's a what 5-1, 6-1 walk to strikeout ratio. I mean, it's a tremendous bat and eye combination. He didn't hit that well in the Cape Cod League, but yeah, he's very model friendly player. Other than that whole first base thing, which could be an issue. Supposedly he's played some corner outfield.
Yeah,
but yeah, he's definitely a very interesting player this year.
I think and just the certainty of the like eye and everything, he probably just gives the Angels like we can't mess this guy up in theory.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Actually, he should be coming out close to me if they dump him out in single A right away. So I'll get some looks at him. I'm very excited about that. Yeah, I think I really like his profile. Just I wish that he had a little bit more defensive skills. Would be the thing. I wouldn't draft the type in the first round, but I can see why you fall in love with him. I mean, that 447, 615, 868 slash line is just ridiculous.
Yeah, it was a crazy offensive year from him. He's got a funny batting stance. Basically, he holds his hands up above his head to the point that like his front arm is almost blocking his eyes. It's like by his mouth and nose, but his hands get into the zone on time, and he hasn't had any issue catching up to any type of pitching. So, yeah, it'd be fascinating to see what he does in pro ball. And Raj has been kind of rotating around the room with his laptop and doing all sorts of stuff. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I don't know where he is now. Actually, I don't see him on. Oh, he's getting ready to go outside and jump in the pool. So if people are going to see that, did you head on the Tigers call?
That's what I'm trying to wait for.
Oh, yeah. So the Tigers are having like a post Max Clark draft call. Rogelio's going to hop onto that to see what they have to say.
Cool.
And I think if we tried to patch that into you guys, we'd get our press access.
You should probably keep that between between
so we're not going to do that.
Phone, yeah.
But yeah, so it's I don't know. Things have gotten kind of interesting here in these last 5-6 picks, as you were talking about. A lot of prep players. It'll be curious to see where things go from here. One thing I wanted to mention, this time last year the Tigers their pick was coming up, and I think I wanted Gavin Cross, but then he got picked a couple picks before them, and so then Young was available, but I wanted Zach Nato, and he's turned out to be a pretty awesome player. But there's a player in this year's draft that kind of reminds me a lot of him, and it's Matt Shaw of Maryland. And I'll be curious to. I mean, he won the MVP in the Cape Cod League, not the Cape Cod League. I'll be really fascinated to see where he goes. It's Maryland, but it's Zach Nato was in Campbell, so these are both pretty small conferences.
Right. No, I'm a huge fan of his as well. I think that's a good probably second baseman long term with legitimate. I don't know, like dare I say, 2020 like ceiling kind of be like a 2020 type of player. I'm a really big fan.
There's a bunch of guys from the Big Ten this year too that are actually kind of interesting. There's a shortstop, Jeb from Michigan State, who I really like. who's the guy from Nebraska? There's two of them actually. But the shortstop who probably moves off shortstop.
Bryce Matthews.
I think he's awesome.
All right, I'm going to add Raj to the stream now as he is heading out of my basement, heading toward the pool for his annual Big Splash. We had discussed, there was that early rumor that came out about the Tigers taking Jacob Gonzalez, who hasn't gone yet, right? If I'm not mistaken, shortstop.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And Raj was, if they took him, he was going to do both a big splash and a belly flop because he thought that was a flop of a pick. But they didn't make that flop, so I think this is just a big splash here.
All right, let me see if I can angle the camera right, gentlemen. See if this
all right. We're looking up
here.
All right, aim it down. That perfect.
All right. Well, I want to aim it towards there.
Yep.
Tommy Troy to the Diamondbacks.
And Tommy Troy is a very similar player to Matt Shaw, as a matter of fact, except from Stanford instead of Maryland.
All right, let's see here.
Just for the record, also for massive Red Wings news is happening at the same time.
Oh, really?
My brain is going
get
like a million miles an hour.
How are you pronouncing
Alex
his name?
DeBrincat is a Red Wing, so
there you go.
That happened, of course, right in the middle of the draft because I can't do anything. Here we go.
You might want to maybe a little bit, Raj, maybe a little bit farther, tilt it a little bit towards the cabana, the pavilion. There you go. Perfect. If you can get it right there, that's perfect. Wow. So Scott, do you have to do anything?
I don't know.
Red Wings related?
Probably at some point, but currently I think everyone's just in awe.
Perfect.
Here we go.
Right. Well, here, just give the spiel now. Have them pull the audio, and you have your next Locked On podcast.
Right, while Raj is jumping into a pool after doing a Red Wings breakdown.
Ladies and gentlemen,
louder.
We're going to expect that at 3. I'll be honest. Every mock draft had them everywhere but 3. So I'm a man of my word. I did bring my wrestling mask. Now I'm going to do belly flop because I'm a man of my word, and why not? It's theater, right?
Here we go. And 3, 2.
Back on. But also, for the sake of this.
Oh, it's a showman.
Done.
He's a showman. All right. We're all waiting with bated breath. There it is.
I think he got me wet.
We'll add in some splash
caught a little bit
sounds
of that.
and post. But well done.
Add it in post.
Yeah. Hope the water feels okay, Raj. I turned it on this morning. It was 81. Tried to get up to 87. But I think that was worthy. He splashed in. A couple years ago, he splashed when Baltimore took Heston Kjerstad because that was not expected.
Wow.
Uh-oh. What? I don't know what he's saying. But so Kubalik, Sabrango, conditional 1 and 24, number 4. All right. That's we're really getting some good Red Wings information here on the sidebar. But
I really like that Tommy Troy pick by Arizona, by the way. I think he's probably a top 10 player that they got at 12. He could probably go play center field because he went and did it in the Cape from what I remember reading. So he's a little bit more athletic. I just don't think he's a shortstop. And I like the second base, third base type profile. He definitely hits and he can definitely mash.
Yeah, I want to say that he put up some solid stolen base numbers, but I think Longenhagen had his a true 80 runner. I think he put on him. I don't know if that was a real thing he said or something to catch the thieves or whatever, but I mean that would be interesting to see him in center field for sure.
I mean, he's not totally useless at shortstop, so I guess you roll him out there in the beginning and then single A and high A, and then transition him over to third base or anything after that. So he's not I'm trying to think who was a bad shortstop that got drafted as a shortstop. I have no idea. Blanking on the top of my head. But he can definitely go play there.
Yeah, because players typically get drafted sort of. You'll see
a lot of Cubs. Did I just see that?
Matt
Sorry,
Shaw,
there you go.
Shaw. There you go.
Oh.
You'll see a lot of guys get drafted, kind of wishful thinking, Tigers, Torkelson, third base style, right? Like, hey, he's a shortstop. You're like, this dude's 240 pounds. What?
Hey, I have a bad shortstop that was drafted recently as a shortstop.
All right.
Isaac Pacheco.
Oh, well,
there you go.
He's been playing shortstop lately for West Michigan and looking surprisingly solid there. He's much more athletic than people realize. He just is not hitting it all this year.
I mean, he's athletic, but when you get past high A, I don't think you can put him at shortstop. I think you could put him at third, and he'll be good.
He's a pretty outstanding third baseman. Actually,
He
we've seen him a
is.
bunch. He's done a lot of really nice stuff there. Not a shortstop. Yeah, he was
Not a shortstop.
6'5",
No.
6'5", 225. There's a very similar player in this year's draft to Isaac Pacheco. I think it's Eric Bictanti. Is that his name? Big, tall kid, super young for the class, tons of raw power, some swing and miss issues, surprisingly athletic. Same sort of thing. Yeah, 6'5", 225 or whatever. You're not an actually shortstop. Not actually shortstop. Unless you're A-Rod, who was arguably the greatest draft prospect of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's all right.
He ended up okay.
Yeah, he ended up being all right.
Well, he was a third baseman eventually. Let's not forget.
You know, this Kyle Teal to the second round idea.
Telling you, Kyle
Gaining some
Teal
steam.
to the Tigers in the comp round. I'm telling you.
You know what? I would have liked him at 4 or at 3. I mean, but if you get him at 37, I'm going to get super Dylan Dingler vibes, and I will like Kyle Teal one rung less.
Where are you right now, Trevor? Can you get here and jump in the pool in time?
Right. Yeah.
I doubt it, but I'll try my best.
There you go. Yeah. I don't know. So this is kind of interesting. We've seen some of the players we thought would go in this range fall out of this range, and you never know if that's because of hidden injury issues, if teams just didn't like him that much, or if sometimes guys just like, oh, we didn't think he'd be there, we didn't work him out, or didn't do our due diligence or whatever. But Raj is typing into the chat. His private parts hurt quite a bit.
I'm sure he'll appreciate that you announced that, Chris.
Yeah, well, it's in the
He
chat.
commented it publicly. So.
It's not in the private chat.
Yeah, that could have been a text,
So I mean, we first had the kick to the groin from the draft pick for some, and now the hit to the groin for the pool spec. But hopefully,
we need to get a new rating on this show.
More belly than knees, you jerk. So yeah, we're hitting the mid. I mean, that is technically the 14th pick will be the midpoint of the first round, the official first round. There's 28 picks in the first round this year, and then 11, I believe, in the sort of comp area before it comes back to the Nats in the second round at 40. Tigers pick 23 picks from now. Who we got? Who's your favorite right now? Let's go around the room. We already heard Walker.
I've already stated mine. Yeah, Walker Martin. I would love to get him.
Rhys, you got anybody?
Yeah, I love Rafi Velasquez. I love him like he's my child. I think he's awesome. It's just like a smooth left-handed swing, and I think he can kind of catch. So he's kind of like a discount Blake Mitchell. And yeah, I mean, Kyle Teal's there. I'll do backflips. Like I might backflip through the door behind me or something like that. But I don't know. Yeah, Blake Mitchell's not available anymore. But yeah, Rafi Velasquez. I also really like the idea of George Lombard Jr. That would go back to the old Tigers regime of drafting all of their sons to go play for them.
Right.
Which he's actually good. He's not like some of the other kids that they picked that were not good at certain points. But yeah, I wouldn't mind George Lombard Jr. either.
We were just talking about Daniel Fields yesterday. I don't know if people remember him. He came up to the big leagues and got one double, and I think in one game, and then never came back. But
that's efficiency right there.
Yeah. Scott, you got anybody that you're eyeing there at 37?
Yeah, well, I mean, so my one later prep is 30. Like that area is probably still too much of a reach for him. He might be more of a second, or honestly, maybe even like a third round guy. But I really like Eric Batanti, who's like
I was just talking about him.
Yeah, like tall, athletic, kind of up the middle type of player. But I don't know. People have him going all over. There's some people that have him as like an early second, and there's some that have him as like a late 4. So like he could really be anywhere. But with going under slot at the top, that gives them, the Tigers, a little bit of flexibility where if they were to like him at any point, they would have assuming they would have the financial ability to be able to pull that off. But yeah, I mean, like George Lombard, just for the sake of like conversation, George Lombard's kid is probably going to be there around, go somewhere in that area as well. I know a lot of people like him, and obviously the storyline of, drafting the bench coach's son would be something, but yeah, he's a nice ball player too. So that's something to keep an eye out for.
If I could, Chris, can I add one more?
Sure. Got to fill time here.
Hey, all right. Well, I'll make it long. This is purely a bias pick because this kid pitched in the division of the team that I coach in high school. And that is Blake Walters, a prep pitcher from Illinois.
Yeah.
He was just casually touching 97 to 99 in starts consistently. Nobody could touch him, obviously, at the high school level. I have heard he's hit triple digits in bullpens with certain teams. So he has that. He has a very high spin, really good looking slider. I know we don't like prep pitchers, and I get it. But my pure bias just from having him pitch near me a lot is that I think that would be fun.
Yeah, I could dig it. There's a guy in here, my guy Todd Howard. He said Adrian Santana for me. That's a guy I like too. It's not. I mean, it's a little bit risky because there's some real questions about how much power he had, but it would be like the shortstop version of Max Clark, right? He's a switch hitter, top of the scale speed, legit shortstop. Supposedly a good swing from both sides of the plate. I think that would be kind of fun to get in the system, but if he can't hit hard, then that's going to limit your ceiling. But yeah, as people are saying in the chat, Kyle Teal just went to the Red Sox at 14. They're getting, arguably getting a top 7 talent at 14. That's a good pick for the Red Sox, I think.
And given how bad this college catching class is, I'm surprised he fell even a little bit because teams love drafting college catchers, and he's the only one that's actually good. So just for him to fall kind of surprised me.
Maybe they have that same anti-Virginia swing bias. I mean, hey, you watch him and he swings from his ass, man. He swings with violence and an intent, and it's cool to see. I don't know if there's anything more than average power there in time, but he's going to spray line drives all over the field. He's an above average athlete overall. You could say he's like a plus athlete for a catcher, right? Like he's going to move around really well. He's got a plus arm. There's a lot to like there from Kyle Teal, so that's a solid pick for the Red Sox.
And you know what? There's if you search his name on Twitter, you'll see a defensive play where the ball's in foul territory. He runs and makes this weird looking open throw. Yeah, but that, while not looking mechanically sound, shows that he's got that fire under him. That he plays hard defensively. He's going to play hard offensively. He just wants to win, man. And that's kind of one of those underrated things that you can about players. I do really like Kyle Teal. I mean, he can hit the ball as a catcher. He showed more power this year than he's had. And here's the thing, he's a catcher. He doesn't need to show that much power. So I think he's going to wind up being a pretty good catcher. And I think Boston should be really happy with that pick.
You go with that mic then?
Yeah. I mean, Boston
when you left.
last few drafts has
Sorry.
for all the other teams that do like the, try to, I don't want to say smartest guy in the room, but like there's a lot of other teams that try to,
Galaxy brain,
get creative picks and whatnot. And Boston, I think somebody commented it too. Yeah, there it is. Detroit Tank City. Boston's draft strategy: wait for other GMs to overthink and then take the guy that's handed to you. That's pretty much been their last 3 years.
Well, that's what the Cardinals have done for years and years and years and years. And look at the Cardinals.
I mean, not right now.
Not right now. Yeah, look at them like a few years ago. Yeah. I mean, I think the first time they didn't take that consensus guy who dropped is when they wound up getting Jordan Walker, and that seemed to go okay for them.
Love Jordan Walker.
Yeah, he's a little all right, So it's not a bad draft strategy at all, and that's what I would love for the Tigers to do, and that's what they did actually. I think in that Spencer Torkelson draft at the time, when you get Torque and then you go Dylan Dingler and then Daniel Cabrera. This doesn't sound very good, but it was at the time. And then, Gage Workman and Colt Keith at the end. I think they did a good job kind of doing that take who falls.
I like that pick there.
Rumored Tiger pick goes to the White Sox at 15.
That's a good pick for Chicago. I think that's a really Jacob Gonzalez. I like that pick for Chicago. He's a slick fielding defensive player. Like his offensive profile is good upside to him.
He and Colson Montgomery up the middle could be fun for Chicago and not that fun for Detroit for a few years.
Yeah, although I don't know if either of them are actual shortstops. I think Montgomery's a third baseman, and I think Gonzalez may have to move to second. He's like a 30 runner.
Yeah.
Who's falling? I guess we would say is Braden Taylor, which I don't know if you could say that or not, but he was like a projected top 10 pick heading into the year, the third baseman from TCU. And then he didn't do a whole lot for most of the year, and then he went absolutely bonkers, like a 7-game stretch, hit 6 home runs, and there were mocks having him all the way up to number 6 with Oakland. But here he is, 15 picks, hasn't been called yet, so that's interesting.
I mean, Namala is also, you could say he's falling a little bit, especially with the prep frenzy that's been going on in this draft.
Yeah, it's always tough to we never know what the prep guys are actually falling or if they're going to get a 15 like a top 15 bonus at pick 35 or whatever, right? So, but yeah, I mean, some people had him as high as he was getting mocked the Cubs at 13 a lot, so he's hasn't gone yet.
You know who didn't fall? Max Clark.
Correct.
So if you're just joining us, Tigers selected high school outfielder out of Indiana, Max Clark, who has a very good hitting tool. And we'll have a scouting report up on our site here shortly, either tomorrow. By the way, okay, so Nolan went to the Marlins. Okay, I'm catching up here, folks. So I apologize if I'm a little late to the party. I was drying off from jumping in the pool. I don't know how did it look visually on camera, but hopefully it went well.
I have
Majestic.
We were. This is from our draft prep like months ago. The last high school outfielder the Tigers signed out of Indiana was Nick Jameson in 1996. So there you go, Nick Jameson.
Nice, good track record.
Yeah.
No idea who that guy is.
I don't think he might not even know who he is.
He was drafted before I was born.
That's an interesting question. You think Enrique Bradfield falls into the comp round?
He might. I think people are seriously do not believe that he's going to be able to hit at the next level.
Yeah, I mean, he hit 270 this year, I think, right?
Yeah. And there's no power profile there really either. He does give you the high floor of at a minimum he's going to, be a base stealer that plays plus defense, but at one point is that worth taking?
Just devil's advocate, what he does give you is what you thought you were getting from Javi Baez, and that's the electric part of that game. You've seen, I mean, I'll point to Christopher Morel in Chicago to show what that can do, even if he doesn't really do much. If you can come in and provide a spark, that might be valuable to a team. Probably not 37th overall, but that might be valuable to a team down the line. And I think that's where Enrique Bradfield comes in. He's a good fielder. He's super fast, and he can provide a spark and be electric.
I mean, the floor is like a Jared Dyson type player. Like Jared Dyson bounced around the league for quite a bit, so there's a big league floor there.
Yes,
you can commit yourself
right.
on.
I mean,
is he Billy Hamilton? Billy Hamilton was pretty good for a few years.
Yeah,
I made a comp to former Royal Otis or Amos Otis, who was a Royal in the 70s center fielder, kind of like an old school profile to him. Defense, speed, could hold it down. That's why, with somewhat of a hitting tool, but I thought this hitting tool would develop. But again, it just seemed like a classic Royals pick, speedy defensive outfielder.
Now, the one thing, I don't know if there was kind of an implied, hey, is Bradfield going to go to the Tigers in the middle? I don't know if teams think this way, but he wouldn't make a whole lot of sense as a piggyback pick to Max Clark. As they're both kind of, center fielders with speed. I mean, I don't think teams think that way, and they might just take the best value available. But I have to believe there are going to be some infield options there for them in that area, because that's the strength of this draft is the depth of infielders, and particularly high school infielders.
No, I was thinking, sir, go ahead.
I almost wonder if Bradfield is a little bit overrated on the public side. Because you can find type of you can find that sort of player in free agency all the time, and it's not a profile that I think he's a very good player. Don't get me wrong, but you could convince me why he's not why he hasn't been picked yet. And it seems like everybody has him ranked around this area of the draft where this is where he should have gone. And it seemed like an easy Angels pick because they didn't have to do anything to his swing. They literally could just drop him in the majors next year. So I'm surprised that he's someone who's, I don't know, maybe he's a little bit overrated on the public side, and the team sides don't like him as much.
Yeah, and I'm with you guys. I was just playing devil's advocate for a minute, but if you think about it, what is he known for? His speed, right? That's, think about players who are known for their speed as their speed is their carrying tool, who make it to the majors and are successful, right? It's not a high number. Ellie De La Cruz might be the fastest person in the majors, but that wasn't his carrying tool coming up, right? So I kind of get it. It's not a pick I think that I would want the Tigers to make.
That's a wild pick there for the Giants.
Yeah.
Last year they took a two-way player. This year they take a two-way player. I just get back to Bradfield for one more second. Heading into this year, I remember hearing a Jacoby Ellsbury comp on him. which doesn't seem plausible because I feel like, Jacoby Ellsbury hit for power in the big leagues, but it really was only 1 year when he needed to get that contract. And then I don't know if he ever hit double-digit home runs again. But he was a very fast player who was a good center fielder. And so maybe, that's the ultimate ceiling. I think you take
The problem
that
is the game has
right field.
changed.
Yeah.
The game's different than it was.
Well, it changed, and it may have changed back a little bit now with the new rules. Maybe a guy who, like Acuna, is going to steal 70, 80 bases this year. Maybe a guy like Bradfield can give you 100, and if he's getting on base, that could be extremely valuable. But and Ellsbury, I think, was picked in the 30s too in his draft, so it's not like there were questions about his hitting tool as well, or his power. But anyway, yeah, if you guys want to talk about Eldridge, that is a fascinating. Rhys, you said you like that?
I like that pick because, like you said, they went two-way player last year, and he's actually doing like all right as both right now. I know he's just sort of coming back in Crawford, but I think this is a team that's smart and can handle that sort of thing. And selfishly, I'll get to see him probably this year or next year. So I'm actually very excited about Bryce Eldridge coming out and being out here. And because he's a dude who can just hit tanks, and that velocity is actually I think there's some velocity to come with it. There's projection on that frame too, which is really exciting with Eldridge.
Yeah, we were talking earlier that there were some, mocks that had the Tigers getting him at 37. So, but again, yeah, who knows anything at this point?
Well, and it's hard to be a two-way player. That's the thing. We can come in and say this is a two-way guy. He's going to try to be a two-way guy. That gets said about a lot of guys. It was said about Mason Wynn, Hunter Green was a two-way guy, Brendan McKay, if you want to go back that far, right? It's hard. It's a hard thing to do. I with Rhys, I do like the pick for the Giants, especially after getting Crawford last year, but having to try to balance both and develop both is going to be a tough road. And I hope he does it. That's good for baseball. That's amazing for baseball. So I certainly hope he does it, but and he has the talent to, he's got a huge bat, huge power, nice fastball. I think he's got a couple breaking balls and a changeup if I'm remembering his profile correctly, but he has the skills to do both. It's just, that's a hard road to travel, and I hope it goes well for him.
And sometimes it's just a condition, the players want to try it. So you go, okay, we'll try. I remember back in the day, was his name Casey Kelly for the Red Sox? He really wanted to hit. The Red Sox thought he was a pitcher. They said, okay, you go out and you hit for the first half of the year, and then we'll pitch you the second half. And they did that, I think, 2 years in a row. And he could barely hit his weight, and then he officially moved to the mound. So sometimes you got to let the guys figure it out themselves, but you give them the chance.
So we had a couple of questions about Mrzik getting sent down, and then Winggetter down to Toledo, and who they potentially could call up. I would, wishful thinking Cole Keith would be nice, but Nick Maton has been hitting Toledo AAA pitching, but again, AAA pitching. Stark difference than major league pitching. So, it'd be great to see Cole Keith here in the second half. And it was one of the things I wanted to bring up too before I forget was who I like the Tigers to pick at number 37. I like Yohandy Morales. I like his bat. I like his upside to him. I think that would be somebody that fits the college third baseman. Chris has talked about this before, how well they succeeded on the next level. And did you guys mention Rafael Vasquez earlier at all?
That's Rhys's guy.
Yeah, Rhys's guy.
I love
and I like Jake. I like Jake. Is it Geloff?
Mm-hmm.
Geloff.
Geloff. I can't.
From Virginia.
Pronounce. Yeah, I like that. Set a school record for home runs.
Well, that was my sort of secret theory. Is everybody was freaking out when the Tigers brass was seen watching Virginia. Watching Kyle Teal. Oh, they're going to take Kyle Teal at a haircut. And I was like, what if they're just watching Jake Geloff for the second round? That's entirely possible. They're probably doing both. But yeah, those are, to your point, Raj, yeah, traditionally speaking, the college third baseman is the best group to take in the first round. They have the best track record of performance. And Morales and Geloff both have a lot of power.
Ricky Bradford. Wow.
There's Bradfield.
Yeah, he went to Baltimore.
Wow.
Baltimore.
That's not a team I would have expected to pick him.
Yeah. Well,
I don't hate that. I don't hate that pick. I really don't.
They don't have any hitting prospects in their system. Jerks.
The Orioles?
Sorry, that was. I know it was very sarcastic there, but I don't think. Yeah, maybe
I
didn't play as
figured,
well.
but I just want to. But I actually don't hate that because the Orioles have been really good at development lately. So Enrique Bradfield is actually going to just turn into like a 90 bomb a year guy and steal 150 bases because that's just what Mike Elias does.
That's the Ellsbury theory.
No, I think that is a good pick, though.
Right.
What was that?
Oh, if he can cash in like Ellsbury did, then he'll be doing all right for himself. I just think it's interesting. They've always seemed to draft guys with power and good swing decisions. I don't know about Enrique Bradfield's swing decisions, just a lack of power. Just as for a team that seems to value power pretty early on in the draft, is quite an interesting change for them. I think it's an exciting change too, because like he can go get it in center field. So like worst case scenario, like we talked about, he can just go be a really good defensive center fielder who hits ninth in your lineup and steals a bunch of bases. Like kind of what I think Historia Ruiz will end up being when Oakland ever does become, Vegas ends up becoming good someday.
To your point, Rhys, they took Cedric Mullins, had him stop switch hitting, and that helped him to make more contact, right? So if you want to get more power, you have to get Bradfield to start switch hitting, I think is how I'm understanding this.
Beautiful.
Love it.
I was thinking about the Orioles center fielders of the past, like the kind of like I'm trying to think of the guy who just retired or was in Baltimore for a while.
Adam Jones.
Adam Jones. Thank you. Does he have an Adam Jones comp? And I say that only because the kind of lankiness that Adam Jones, when he first came up, kind of similar build before he got a little bigger.
Jones was a shortstop coming into the draft, I think, out of Seattle. I think he was originally. Yeah, I know. I was thinking like Baltimore back in the day had the original Luis Matos playing center field.
Yeah,
I don't think many people remember him. He had
2003 Orioles. Yeah.
I'm trying to think, and then they had Markakis in the corner, but yeah, that's a fascinating one because a lot of people talk about like Baltimore loves these guys with big physical bodies who can make good swing decisions, and then they take the skinny fast guy. So you just never know in the draft. I'm looking right now for this, trying to see if I can find the swing data on Bradfield. So here you go. 85% contact, 16% chase, those are both very good. 90th percentile exit velocity, 102.9, which is below average, but more than Jacob Wilson with much less chase, less contact too.
And against better competition.
Yeah. He's playing in the SEC.
Yeah, was playing against like okay arms, where Bradfield's playing against the best of the best.
Oh, look at Michael Meyer with some pulls here. Mike Devereaux, Steve Finley, Brady Anderson. Yeah, that was a great point, Rhys. That Bradfield is playing the best competition you can play in college baseball. So
yeah, fair.
And Jacob Wilson is at Grand Canyon. He saw some good arms this year. He saw Dollander early in the year, but yeah, it's not really comparable in terms of competition. Just 1 second, my dog is barking.
No, but it's you were something about Baltimore too. It's just right now everything's coming up Baltimore. I mean, Jackson Holiday's already just got called up the buoy today, and it's just an embarrassment of riches that continues to thrive for him. And I feel like Baltimore just a few years ago was kind of viewed as a laughingstock, and here they are, one of the crowning achievements in the AL East right now.
I tweeted about this the other day because Baltimore's got all these amazing prospects right now. When the current regime took over, when Elias took over and brought his people in, that was the 2020 draft, or I'm sorry, that was the Adley Rutschman draft, whatever year that was, 2019. And so you get Adley in the first round, you get Gunnar Henderson in the second round, and that was their first draft. Okay, so now let's just flip it around. Look at where the Tigers are. They just changed regimes. They have not had a ton of success. I think Baltimore was in a worse off place when Elias started, but that means this draft could be huge if you want to follow that Baltimore pattern of gaining all these amazing prospects. It can start by Max Clark panning out and by whoever they pick next. Maybe they can get Dylan Cruz at 37 and then just getting those guys to work out for you and become, actual legitimate prospects. That is a huge step one going into trying to become kind of what Baltimore is right now. I feel like Baltimore's taking over as one of the darlings of the league just for how they've gotten to this point, where their organization's at, the winning they've been doing along with the prospects they have. That's not out of the Tigers' reach, I don't think, but it starts with this draft right here.
Brock Wilken?
Yeah,
I like that a
Brock.
lot. He started the year though as like a top 5 pick conversation. Like people were like, this guy could be like, he's like Spencer Torkelson, and Spencer Torkelson played in a good conference is some of the comps you heard coming out. So I'm kind of interested his little fall because he didn't really change all that much. He's been the same guy basically since he stepped on campus and matched. I think that's a really good pick for Milwaukee.
I like that his last name is similar to Milwaukee.
Wilken?
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee. Yeah, I mean, and he will walkie a little bit because
there you go.
He's got decent walk rates, but he's known for his power. He hit 71 home runs in college. I think 31 this year. Wake Forest is a little bit of a bandbox where they play, but it's legit plus juice in his bat. I think he tore it up in the Cape a couple years ago as a freshman. Lots of strikeouts, but he toned that down a little bit this year. And I think there's some debate as to how good he is at third base. I've seen some highlights of him making really good plays, but other people suggest maybe a move to first base. But I think Milwaukee's probably really happy getting that level of pop here at 18. And, as Roger's talking about, Yohandy Morales and Geloff have similar power, but not like, Wilken might have the most power in this whole draft. So, that's
Morales has wild exit velos. He hit 49 home runs in college.
Yeah. So that's I mean, you're 22 fewer. Let's see what Wilken's got here. Wilken, chase rate of 19%, contact 76%, and 90th exit velo of 108.1, which is below Cruz but ahead of Langford. So roughly around the same rate as Chase Davis, who was a guy that I think might be going off the board fairly soon. I don't know.
That reminds me. That Milwaukee pick kind of reminds me of them taking Benelis a few years ago, Alex Benelis. They're just taking a giant power bat, a giant college power bat. I mean, it's kind of similar, except they traded Benelis, so they're probably going to want to hold on to Wilken. Also, I like Wilken better on draft day than I liked Benelis on draft day.
And to what Rhys was saying, Benelis was another guy who headed into that draft class with potential top 10 pick, and then he just struggled like crazy and fell in. Was that the second or third round that they got him? I don't remember. I think second round probably, but.
We got some words from Max Clark. It's crazy.
All right. Gonna play it?
Oh, yeah.
In Detroit, and I can't wait to get started. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Go Detroit. What's going on, Tigers fans? I just wanted to thank you for an amazing night. I'm looking forward to repping the D in Detroit, and I can't wait to get started. Thank you so much. Go Detroit. What's going on, Tigers?
Yeah, there we go. So he's wearing
I think he's signing.
Yeah. He's wearing a nice tux, black tux with a powder blue tie, bow tie. So
I saw the fit. I thought he looked very sharp. He's definitely he's always looking good. That's one thing we can look forward to. And if he is good, and then we also get a nice social media player as well, because it'd be fun to have a fun player on the Tigers.
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly media savvy.
Yeah, and the Tigers need more players like that. I hate to say it, but it's true. Somebody who's active on social media. Well, it's true. I mean, like they.
I'm sorry, I was looking at a comment.
Yeah, me too. Did you look at the same comment I did?
It was the one about Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. On Friday, I had specifically asked him to trade for DeBrincat any day but Sunday, and not only did he do it on Sunday, he did it in the middle of the first round. Yeah, that was great.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the comment that I'm about to put in our chat, right in our private chat.
Oh, all right. I missed that. Where's this?
It's gonna be right there on our. If you go to the private chat.
Oh.
Yeah. So
all right. Well, these things happen when you make a mock.
Yeah. Well,
like a mockery of the system,
or you're a jackass. But either way.
Raj, to your point, I said it earlier, but having somebody who's media savvy like that, and I make jokes about the Instagram followers and all that stuff, but he can bring new fans to Detroit that don't have to necessarily be from the Detroit area, because he has that massive following already that are Max Clark fans, and they don't have to be Tiger fans, but they can be Max Clark fans, and all of a sudden the Tigers have an influx of new eyes on them, and you never know what can happen.
Yeah, and you know what? You're absolutely right, Trevor. It's one of those things that if you look at how social media has been crafted by the Tigers players, they don't really tweet out. They're not really on Instagram. They're not. I mean, they are, but it's really kind of a lot of them are reserved. And Max Clark is loud, and he's embraced that. and I sound like an old person. I really sound like, oh, you embraced that. Like he's but he's not a boomer about it. And so that's something that is beneficial for, also, I hate to say it. No, I don't hate to say this at all. For the ladies, you bring a female fan, players. I'm sorry. They like a good looking ball player. And I mean, I remember when the Tigers started doing well in 04, 05, 06, when they started building up a little bit. I remember somebody going, oh, yeah, I went to the Tigers game. Oh, Braden Taylor went to Tampa.
Oh, yeah. All right. So they just let the college player fall to them.
Yeah. Tampa's like, thank you very much. And I was working with somebody, and they're like, oh, I went to the Tiger game. I'm like, oh, really? Who did you has there been winning? No, I don't care about that. Let's bring it in. She's hot.
Oh, no.
And I was just like, oh, okay. But anyway.
Well, say what you want. He's got the hair. I'm here for the hair. I'm a fan.
He's got ball player.
He's got the locks.
Salad.
Do you know Brock Wilken has a max exit velocity of 120.6? I just saw that scrolling through Twitter. That's nuts. I think it led all the 2021 season. Shout out to Justin Choi on Twitter. He's great. If you're not following him, I think he's really worth a follow. Great writer at Fangraphs. He put up a little graphic and everything. It was Brock Wilken by a lot too. Max exit velocity 120.6. Next guy, Caleb Upshaw 115.3. 120.6. That's better than Giancarlo Stanton. Like that's like better than like Ellie De La Cruz did in the minor leagues this year. So that's pretty nuts. I mean, it is college with the metal bat, but still, Brock Wilken's going to be awesome. I can't believe the Rays get another good player. Things just poor them. Poor Rays fans that just have to deal with so many good prospects and everything.
Yeah, no, I'm really fascinated to see. There's the dude who played for Ole Miss named Kemp Alderman, who had I think the hardest hit balls at the MLB Combine. He had, according to Baseball America, his 90th percentile exit velocity this year was 114.6, which was so far above everybody else that it's like the next closest was Caden Grice at 111. And that's the 90th percentile, which means that's the 90th, basically. If he hit 100 balls, that's the 90th hardest hit. So there are 10 more than that. But yeah, Wilken, I think, did it much more consistently. Kemp Alderman has a lot of swing and miss. So, yeah, I mean, that's a ton of power there.
All right. So there was some people that were talking about, Colin was saying that Tiger fans who are freaking out. Let's see, we're chat. Freaking out and present company on the pod. We've all heard all draft season long that there's a clear top 5 players, and then they drop a tier. They pick one of the top 5. Next, he's the only guy in the top 5 playing a premium up the middle position where he'll stick and play and defense and center. How many guys in MLB are that?
Well, I mean, there's 1,000 different ways to look at it, and again, we won't know the whole picture until we see who else they draft. But heading into this draft, I kind of looked at okay, where are the top 3 college guys going immediately in the top 100 prospects list? And I think they're all top 15, probably at the lowest. Your Cruz, Skeens, and Langford, maybe Langford in the top 20. With Clark and Jenkins, it's probably more like 30 to 50. So but again, that's just based on perception. The guys haven't even played in pro ball yet. That could change drastically in 2 months.
So just to put this in perspective, where would you guys drop Max Clark into a Detroit Tigers top 30 prospect list if you had to right now?
Because we're going to have to.
You are going to have to. That's true.
Yeah, no, that's true. By the end of this week coming up,
it's a number 2 for me.
I
think he's behind Cole Keith.
Yeah, I don't even think it's a conversation, really. I think he's.
I was the same place, but maybe somebody's gung ho and has him 1 and or 3, or maybe they hate him and he's 30. I don't know, but I think 2 is fair.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, I mean, I think I would have put probably Langford and Cruz ahead of Keith just because of a little bit more defensive certainty there. But you got to remember, though, Keith is doing this. He's crushing balls in the high minors as a 21-year-old. Like, there's a lot of value there. I think he's going to continue to do that in the big leagues. Yeah. And Clark could arguably have a higher ceiling just because of that defensive value and maybe somewhat close to similar offensive value if you add in some steals and things like that. But it's tough for me to put a prep bat that high when he hasn't actually faced pro ball yet.
For sure. Yeah, you got to see, give us the end of the summer, then maybe reevaluate a little bit.
Yeah, and this
Max
is the thing
Clark
too.
goes 10 for 10 with 10 bombs in his first 10 at bats. Where are you putting him? I'm kidding.
Right.
You know, and one thing that I don't know if this was mentioned or not, but Max Clark visioned himself going number 1, and the confidence that you portray like that backs up the game. Again, my initial reaction was a knee-jerk reaction, and I apologize.
I can guarantee you that Max Clark is one of those guys who's going to absolutely thrive on playing good against the Nationals and the Pirates whenever he gets a chance, just to shove it down their throat. He's absolutely one of those kids. So
if he ever faces Paul Skeens, watch out.
Yeah, well, we were listening to. I was sent a clip to Raj a while back. This is neither here nor there, but it was about Justin Verlander back in the day, and how he was kind of, Max Clark gets some dings for being cocky, certainly a confident young kid, but so was Justin Verlander. Justin Verlander was a giant a-hole in college.
Toronto with picking up
Namala.
Yep.
That's a cool market for him too.
Oh yeah,
because he's an awesome story, right? He's the son of Indian immigrants who grew up playing cricket. And now he's, one of the youngest players in the draft, and tons of bat speed and pop potential there. Like I've heard people compare his bat speed to like Javi Baez. I know that Tigers fans don't want to hear that, but Javi did have some electric bat speed.
And Toronto's such a great international city too.
Yeah. But yeah, just to get back to the Verlander story, it was John Manuel telling this story on the Fangraphs podcast with David Laurila, and Verlander got into a fist fight in the dugout with Dustin Pedroia during like the 2003 Olympic trials or whatever.
It makes so much sense on both sides.
Yeah. And Verlander never forgot it and basically ate Pedroia's lunch for the rest of his career. Just relished in striking him out and making him look foolish. And so I feel like Clark, as a hitter, you don't get that chance really, but I think he's going to make anybody who passed on him, I think they're going to regret it when he faces them.
Well, I mean, I say this to the kids that I coach all the time. If you're not confident in what you're doing on a baseball field, you're not going to win. You're not going to do many positive things on a baseball field, right? So it's hard to knock somebody for being confident in their own abilities. I'm sure you can get into a conversation about overconfidence and stuff like that, but I love that Max Clark is confident. I love that he knows he's good, right? It's what you need. I was a Division III pitcher, but if you would ask me on any given day if I could strike out Mike Trout, I absolutely could, throwing 72 miles an hour. Okay, so
I'm just joking. No, I'm just joking.
If you ask me now, you ask me now, absolutely not. But if you ask me back in my playing days, Mike Trout's every single time, no shot. I'm better, right? But you need that confidence, right? That's part of it.
And Colin makes another good point here. I have little faith in what the Tigers are doing right now. You're keeping Riley, hoping Torque figures it out, but other than that, they don't have much. This might be a longer rebuild than we like. And again, I think that's why people are, impatient perhaps.
I think the fact of the matter is that it's a double rebuild at this point. And you're hoping that I think we think we know what Chris Ilitch wanted Al Avila to do, and that was to build a big player development machine that could consistently produce big leaguers, but Al Avila could not. And I think that's what they want Scott Harris to do now. So I think Chris Ilitch has things going on like Scott does. You got Red Wings news breaking. He's probably got Yzerman on one phone and Scott Harris on the other one. And
right. Me and Chris Ilitch, one and the same for sure.
Exactly. I saw you guys having tea the other day.
Yeah.
I wonder. I bet Ilitch just has a Zoom meeting going on just like we do. He's just not broadcasting. He's got Ilitch on one side and.
Well, the headquarters, from my understanding, they're all at the Ilitch headquarters compound, and I envision it being like a dorm on a Friday night in college, where it's just a bunch of pizza boxes scattered everywhere. There's a smell of Mountain Dew and pizza farts, and no one's left the room. And if they do leave the room, I'm sorry, some of them are vegetarians. I'm sorry, there are some that have really strict diets, but and just a bunch of Mountain Dew cans, maybe one of those Diet Mountain Dew. Yeah, watch a figure, and just a bunch of papers going around, flying everywhere, and people are looking at Twitter constantly.
So here's my question for you guys. Does picking Max Clark signal the second coming of a rebuild to you? Because I feel like that's a lot of the comments we're getting, and I personally, my answer is no. I don't think it's in second coming of a rebuild, but I'm just curious what you guys think.
No, because competitive teams don't always just draft college guys, right? I think it's just they liked Max Clark, they liked the number that they got him at, and they obviously like the personality, which I think is awesome. I think he seems like a really cool dude. So I just think you just draft whoever you think is the best, and if you can save a little bit of money here and there, then I think you do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I already said that I thought that they were already doing another rebuild.
Yeah.
I don't think this necessarily changes anything. I don't know that getting Langford would have sped up their overall timeline. They need more than just a Langford. They need more than that. They need Riley Green to keep doing what he's doing, but get better. They need Spencer Torkelson to get significantly better. They need to get lucky with another hitter or two, whether it's Kerry Carpenter, really turning into something, or if it's your Justice Bigby's of the world that suddenly come out of nowhere. But yeah, they need a lot of help. They need to make some smart decisions in free agency.
I think the biggest thing that I can't remember which one of you two made the point first between Rhys and Trevor, but like I keep going back to the potential now. We'll see how the night plays out and how today and tomorrow play out, but like the potential for just a like large influx of prep talent being put into this farm system this year, I think is does not necessarily signify one way or another what direction they are headed in at the major league level. I think it's just how can we add the most high ceiling, if you want to call it, players that are 17, 18 years old as we possibly can in one draft, because this farm system, while I think maybe slightly better than the national media gives it credit for, is still pretty darn thin pretty quickly at one point. And so like I think that again, I don't know if it signifies one way or another, like as far as what they plan on doing at the major league level, but I do think that this is a route to, I don't know if quickest is the word I'm looking for, but I think that this is a route to inject this farm system with as much young talent as they possibly can.
Yeah, and you know what, Scott? I think there's a lot of validity to it. If you look at the assignment for Roberto Campos right now in West Michigan as an example, he's been able to adjust to it very well, and he's under the age of 20. He just turned 20, I believe.
Yeah, he turned 20 in like the second week of June.
Yeah. So, and then I look at somebody like Cole Keith, who I think it really depends. Again, even when Cole Keith was drafted, we thought that was an interesting pick at the time, but then I see things like even with Lakeland, what they're doing right now with Lakeland. They have a 22-year-old pitcher, or I'm sorry, a 19-year-old pitcher in drawing a blank. He won Florida State League. Marcano, who just won Florida State League Pitcher of the Week, who's been pitching pretty swell. He's been pitching pretty well, and they're just kind of throwing kids out there a little bit in Lakeland with the pitching, which is they've never really done that. Honestly, they haven't done that from a starter standpoint. They usually pick college arms and they kind of go from there, but it's good to see that they're at least trying something different. And I think that if we look at Mark Connor's past history of getting prep players, it's a pretty impressive history. So again, you can say, well, San Diego right now is kind of struggling, but is that really his fault? No. But either way, I think that there is a focus on at least trying something different, which is, I know that sounds like a really simple way to say it, but if you look at the Tigers' past history in the last 35 years, they haven't developed anybody. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's a very, I can count on one hand. So we're seeing weighted balls. We're seeing this technology being used. We're seeing nutrition, simple things that they didn't have before. And then when we talk to Isaac Pacheco and Jace Young at West Michigan, and they were saying, oh yeah, the nutrition stepped up. It sounds like, wow, what a simple little thing. But the Tigers, we looked at even how they upgraded the facilities in Erie. This has been taking a while because the Tigers have always been behind. They were one of the last teams that have, at the time, a minimum of 5 farm teams in the early 90s.
One other thing from our conversation with Jace Young and Isaac Pacheco at West Michigan, following that day, if I had to choose one person to narrate my life, I think it would be Isaac Pacheco.
Yes,
if you haven't heard him talk, it is a deep voice, much deeper than I expected.
I thought he sounded like he would have a lot of books, Richard Mahogany, and like just wear a robe constantly and just have the pipe like.
Yeah, he sounds like James Earl Jones when he talks.
It's insane.
Bellowing voice. I'm just filling in some draft stuff here while I'm talking, and I noticed that Hurston Waldrop hasn't been drafted yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting. He arguably has the best pure stuff in college baseball, even more so than Paul Skeens. He just the fastball is a little bit iffy, and he didn't throw a ton of quality strikes, but he's a dude that you could picture is a Florida righty, a pro pitching staff getting him right and him being absolutely filthy, because I want to say his splitter got like a 63% swing and miss rate this year. Just an absurd pitch.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's a pattern we've seen before, Chris. I mean, I know it was the old regime, but that's a pattern we've seen before with Jackson Jobe, Ty Madden, Isaac Pacheco. So you go Max Clark, Waldrop if you can get him, and who knows? But
I'm just in my head, I'm picturing him landing with the Astros at 28 and getting really frustrated when he's like a number one starter next year. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Maybe he's injured. Who knows? And a lot of, and this is not as shocking. A lot of we haven't seen many of these high school infielders go yet, right?
Yeah.
No Miller, no Pope,
Walker Martin.
No Walker Martin. Maybe they start going off the board now. No Emerson, no Lombard. One of those guys is going to be available for the Tigers probably.
So Seattle's up next, and they're announcing the pick right now, and the Mariners are selecting. Let's see. Oh, well, they're bringing out a special guest. Looks like they're
playing a video.
They're playing a video.
This is like a Make-A-Wish thing where they just all feel very bad about being healthy and happy.
Yeah, it's, by the way, if for anybody that does not know, the All-Star Game is in Seattle this year, and they're hosting it outdoors. They did a really good job with the outdoor venue wherever they're at with that. So Seattle Children's Hospital is what they're doing over the video. So we'll get back to that in a second. But one of the things too, I want to ask you guys this question in terms of some of the high school. Why do you? Because I missed this because I was running around with my head cut off out there, getting the pool ready. Why the emphasis on high school prep players this draft so early in the draft? You guys think?
Overall?
You may have answered this question. Yeah.
Well,
talent.
We got 4 in the top 10.
I mean,
yeah.
Clark Jenkins,
10,
Mitchell Meyer.
Yeah. I mean, it's just got to be talent. I mean, it's just got to be the scouts from these teams are getting out there, seeing these guys and going, hey, man, like that's really good. Or I feel like we can develop that. We can take this tool. We can make it better. We can do all this. We can do this, do that. I mean, it's hard to imagine that many teams in the top 10 are trying to make haircuts on their budget, right? So this has the potential to be one of the best prep classes just based on how high all these guys are going. I mean, it is a talented prep class, don't get me wrong, but just based on the pure numbers, if they turn out to be what these teams apparently think they are, this could be a legendary high school class.
Were you guys surprised by Chase Davis, by the way, St. Louis?
No, that's an awesome pick.
No.
Yeah.
That's
they take best available. That's their thing.
Too, I feel like.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Continue, I'm sorry.
I mean, I think that maybe not cutting overall bonus pool spending, but I do think that this is such a deep prep class that a lot of people are looking around going, hey, like great college class, obviously, very deep college class, but if we can get 3 impact or like highly rated prep players in this draft in such a deep prep class, then we'll do that over, spending slot or over slot on one of the, I mean, obviously very talented college bats. I think it might just speak to the depth of the high school class more than anything else.
And speaking of high school class,
kid just went.
Yeah, and Cole Emerson,
there you go,
left-handed bat out of Ohio. And so
it's a Sikowski favorite.
Yeah, Sikowski,
beautiful left-handed swing.
Yeah,
I think he performed all summer at the showcase circuit.
Really, I think was he under the U.S.
Yeah, and it's performed with the national team. Really, I don't know. I had him as a third baseman growing out of shortstop, but he'll certainly start pro ball at shortstop. And I don't. It's not all that. I mean, who did they take? They took that young kid, I think, as a shortstop.
He's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so
Cole Young's good.
So they're doing, prep infielders back to back, and it seems to be the Mariners have a lot of flexibility in this draft because they have this pick. They also have the 29th and the 30th pick. One is a compensation pick, and one is the pick that they got for promoting Julio Rodriguez and him winning Rookie of the Year. So they've they're going to be able to probably take 3, high value prep kids coming up. But Emerson's a fun pick.
So that means Cleveland's on the clock right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, traditionally, the Cleveland pick is the young player up the middle with, good athleticism. We'll see how that works out here. That could be.
They're going to
Adrian
take
Santana
Waldrop
even.
and turn him into a frontline starter.
That's what they do.
It's their thing.
Although their thing tends to be more taking guys with control and command and then adding 4 miles an hour of velocity or whatever. Whereas Waldrop's more of like a Dodgers guy who they take some guy who can't throw strikes and they're like, what if you just do this? And like, oh, all right, I'm good now.
I want to believe they go up to those guys and go, what if you just threw strikes? And they go, oh, you're the Dodgers. That's a good idea.
Yeah, exactly.
That's Douglas in the YouTube chat. Illich announced a trade for Democrat today because we were taking Max instead of spending the money on Wyatt.
I mean,
Smart. Always a man with a plan, Chris Illich, for sure.
You know what? That might be Max Clark's PR plan. You might have asked him.
Yeah, it's because he's so media savvy. Yeah, I think again we've talked about this. We've hit it a bunch of times. This is going to be a narrative that hangs over the head of this kid that he didn't. No matter what Langford does. But if Langford goes out and tanks, I don't think he will. I think everybody will be happy with the pick. And if they both do well, then no one will care. But yeah, for now, it's going to be that the Tigers went cheap, to save $700,000 or whatever, so they can.
Yeah.
But with the second pick, they may very well get that Walker Martin or somebody who's going to get top 15 money, but with the $700,000 that they saved, they can get them now, and
right,
that would be totally fine.
Right, and they wouldn't have been able to have that flexibility, or we wouldn't even be really having this conversation if it was somebody at slot value.
Well, at that point, if you're at slot value, you're cashing out your first 2 picks, and then you're just taking. It's like what the Rangers are going to have to do by taking Langford. You just get 2 picks maybe instead of the 1.
Did you guys see Cleveland going with Thomas White here?
Oh, really?
Because no, I'm just asking you guys. Do you think?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I think they could.
Yeah.
Go ahead. They could go with the third Naylor brother. Just load up on Naylors.
But again, if they want
we had a comment on there.
So I want to say, if they want to corner the market on that family, they got to go trade for Denzel Clark. He's their cousin. I'm just saying.
Another Hooth favorite, and I don't blame him because he's a very fun player.
You talk about the electricity or the guy that makes you go, oh my gosh, when he plays baseball, that was Denzel Clark.
There's a clip that I just uploaded today. It's been online, but it was private. It was me. I got to go do color commentary up in Lansing with Jesse Goldberg Strassler. And I was in the booth with him when Denzel Clark hit his second straight day with a inside the park home run.
Yeah, I was there for the day before the first one, and then he hit the second one on the day they retired Lou Whitaker's number. So I was hanging out with Raj at Comerica.
That's right.
And oh my god! Well, you guys were there that game. They were playing the someone. I think they were playing the Guardians affiliate, and
yep, because
I think right at the Eucharist. Denzel Clark hit that. He hit that just absolute bomb that was a fly out to the warning track and in left field, and he hit it. And I think you and I both audibly just went, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
No. The Guardians drafted who I want the Tigers to get. Rafael Velasquez. I love him. He's going to be so good in Cleveland.
Who?
Rafael Velasquez.
Oh,
although he has for too much power for a Guardians prospect, so that might be a little tough for them. They might not know what to do. He might hit a home run, and they're like, you're not supposed to do that, right?
Yeah, you're picturing him hitting the table like, dang it, he's got too much power.
Oh, man.
That's Rogelio. I know other people don't particularly care about this, but that's another huge hit for you in our mock draft contest.
Oh, that's right.
You took Velasquez 36th overall, so you're getting a ton of boost here. So, and you got boosted on Wilson, Lauder, and Eldridge, so you might win this thing, and you get your own Tigers minor league report shirt.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go, another high school catcher.
How about that?
So Trevor made the Tyler Soderstrom comp on Blake Mitchell earlier, but Velasquez is a guy who reminds me of Soderstrom as a guy who might hit too much to bother with him playing catcher. But Rhys said he likes him at catcher, so and I'm sure the Guardians will continue to develop him as such. But that's a really good bat.
You know what? If he's a good enough bat to call himself Ralphie. That's how confidence he has, because usually it's Ralph or
he's Raphael, right?
Yeah.
That's his birth name.
And Raphael's a dope name to begin with. Like, I would stick with Raphael personally.
Yeah. I mean, Ninja Turtles, Renaissance painters.
Solid painter.
Yeah, solid painter.
I think he died of syphilis. You don't get that by being a nerd, right?
Oh yeah, it's anyway. But no, that was a good pick. Again, it continues this trend where we're not seeing this run of prep players and just I mean, I did not realize when you're looking at this, just you're looking at the top 30, top 40, top 50 draft talent here. There's still some like guys like do you see somebody like, for example, a couple of arms I was thinking of, like Cameron Johnson sneaking in somewhere in the next 10 picks, or even another arm too, like Travis Sakura out of Round Rock.
I think in this next 20 picks or so, we're going to see a ton of these high school players go. There'll still be a couple more college guys, like we might see Morales and Geloff and Waldrop soon, but I think that it's going to be high school pitching, maybe Charlie Soto, Thomas White, like those guys, and then the high school infielders. So yeah, this feels like the start of that run.
Look, I wouldn't be mad if the Tigers had got Soto at 37.
I wouldn't either. He's a really athletic young pitcher. I think we talked about it. There's some comments about his fastball shape or whatever, but we'll worry about that later.
So, by the way, everybody, thank you for tuning in tonight. This is one of our most highest viewed podcast streams, and thank you again for everybody who has stopped by and come say hello, and we appreciate it. We're on hour 220, and we're not going to be doing, obviously, no minor league recap tonight, but we'll be doing a minor league recap show on Tuesday evening, recapping the whole entire first half. So tomorrow we're going to take a well-deserved day off and bounce back. And yeah, just wanted everybody who's usually listening to our minor league feed right now, thank you so much for listening. Thank you. We really appreciate it. And thanks to our guests for stopping by, and Trevor and Rhys and Scott. Awesome job as always. So I just wanted to kind of reset things a little bit, because that pool, I don't know, like hearing ever since I got in the pool, my head feels a little out of it. So I'm just like,
sorry about that.
No, it's not your fault. We apologize. I'm the one that when I was the one that got hit in the balls when I was in the pool. So it went out of me a little bit. So, but
Raj, you need to go into concussion protocol. You good?
No, I mean, I just, I said Ghibli's and I'll be fine. So I'll be all good.
So here's my thought, because you keep bringing up Yo-Yo Morales. What if the Brewers double up at 33 on power hitting college third baseman, and they take Morales?
Well,
how happy are you as Milwaukee to get Morales and Wilkin?
Yeah, you'll play them both. Play one of them at third base, one of them at first base, swap them, see who sticks where, hit a lot of dingers.
Put one in the corner outfield, put one as pitcher. Yeah. Who cares? I mean, just let him hit. I don't know.
Sure.
There goes Waldrop.
Yeah.
Over to Atlanta. Yeah, they they've done that a couple years in a row, right? They got Schuster there a few years back.
Well, they couldn't take their Wake Forest arm this year, so they had to settle for Florida.
Yeah. That's a fun pick for them, for sure.
Yeah.
We'll see what they could do with it.
Yeah, because they took Schuster, and then the year after Schuster, they took Cusick, is the name Chris was looking for, and then traded Cusick to Atlanta for Sean Murphy.
All right. So Houston, or let's see, I'm sorry, Waldrop going to Atlanta, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Sorry, I was.
Yeah, that's a heck of a pick for them this late.
I'm updating the tracker as we go. Yeah, this is an arm I thought that would go off the board sooner. I thought it was just going to be right outside the top 10.
Yeah, that's a it's a heck of a pick for a team that's already loaded.
Imagine them bringing him up at some point this year.
I mean, he tops out at what, 98, 99? They could throw him in the pen. Why not?
Yeah, but it is very. You don't see a lot of college arms, especially ones who go deep into the College World Series, making their debut in the draft year.
Yeah, he'll get the old. You're not pitching till February, bud.
Mm-hmm.
So I accidentally deleted the banner. Wow, that sucks. I just deleted the draft banner by accident.
Does that mean we get to redo it? Can we get Cruz?
I'm glad we all agree this was a mock.
Let's let Manfred know. We got to start over.
Yeah, we're just practicing for the real show.
Yeah, we got to try again.
Yeah, there's somebody.
I'm pumped for this pick at 37 though. I think that I think that there's a lot of. Oh wow, there you go.
I like that, Jim.
Kind of fascinating.
I like that comment here on YouTube. Max Clark 6'1", Riley Green in 2019 6'1", 192.
Well,
Jim
I mean, you don't even have to. I mean, like Riley Green's obviously an easy one to point to. You can look at. I mean, one of the biggest, like, oh, is he going to hit for power? And then he grew and added some weight and started hitting for power that, like, we've seen in recent memory is the number one prospect in the system right now. Colt Keith was a bona fide, I'm not going to call him a slap hitter. That's probably too dramatic. But, like, that was a pure contact, doubles power maybe. And then he added, a ton of weight and muscle and grew a few more inches. And now he hits tanks, Like, that's a not that Clark, I think that's one of the things about Clark is a lot of people say that they think he is kind of done growing and won't get too much bigger. But like, I mean, yeah, these kids are, 17, 18, who knows?
Yeah. Here's an example of Riley Green. This is when we first talked to him when he got to West Michigan, and I'm trying to find him right now. Right. As I look for him, because it's one of those things where we look back on it, and this was in 2019, Chris, we saw him.
Yeah, it would have been June or July 2019. Maybe August, because he was in Connecticut first, right, before they sent him to West Michigan.
Yeah.
But he looked like a little kid back then.
Yeah, I was trying to find the interview we did with him, and I searched for that. It's just here it is. I found it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say the story I have is going from 2019 when Riley Green got drafted to 2020 when the season got delayed and they had the second spring training, and you had Riley Green there, right? We got to watch it, and I just remember talking to people who were there, who were allowed to be there, who were allowed to see it, and they just said you should see Riley Green's neck right now, and that's just saying you should see how much muscle Riley Green was able to put on just because of his pro training regimen, how much better shape he's able to be in, and that stuff helps, and that can happen with Clark. And just like Scott said, all of a sudden you go from a guy who can make really good contact to a guy who can make really good contact and has added 15 pounds of muscle and can just smash the baseball.
Yeah, here's Chris talking to him, and I'm just can't stop staring at his neck right now.
Young Riley.
And Chris, which one are you?
And by the way, there's a Fangraphs writer who does the Sunday column. Right back there with Nate Wangler. I'm drawing a blank on his name now. All of a sudden, I can't remember.
David Lorla?
Yeah, David Lorla, who was interviewing Green at the same time we were. So that was funny. I pointed out. So anyway, somebody said the jury's out on. Okay, well,
what's it?
I thought somebody said something about a jury being out on Riley Green. Padres pick Dylan Head.
There you go.
Center fielder out of
Illinois, right?
Yeah.
He's electric.
Yeah.
He's maybe second fastest runner in the draft after Enrique Bradfield Jr. He's kind of like Enrique Bradfield Jr. light, probably the second. That's how the naming convention works. He's but I don't know how much power there is in that profile, but there are a bunch of people who think there's some power to come. So I hope that does come for him. I think San Diego's a good spot for him as well because they do really well with prep products.
And San Diego has drafted a player with the last name Head before, so they have experience there as well.
They experience with a lot of head, don't they?
Some great comments in the
San Diego really like that guy Head.
Yeah. Detroit Tank City with the I Love Head.
That brings up one of my favorite Jeff tweets of all time. I actually have it bookmarked. Someone was like, "Do you like Head?" And he's like, "Only from your mom."
Bang.
That was before he went all, he had to be clean cut for Baseball America. Or shout out to Jeff, by the way. He's the best.
Yeah, shout out to super shout out to Jeff Pontus, the Godfather, if you will, who got hired at Baseball America 2 years ago, and it should have happened 5 years ago, and we can all agree with that. He's one of the smartest busiest guys I know who'll take the time. And I always send him a Christmas card because, quite frankly, his suit game's gotten well too. But he is.
Oh my goodness, he was fresh this weekend.
Yeah, he was fresh this weekend. He got some time. But shout out to Jeff Pontus, who we're all. I know Trevor also
I'm not here without Jeff Ponce. Just to make that clear, like I am not here without Jeff Ponce. He brought me on to Prospects Live. He taught me what most of what I know. That's not a reflection on his teaching skills. That's my learning skills, the deficiency there. But he taught me so much. Like it's a huge shout out to Jeff Ponce.
Yeah, it wasn't for the. I didn't see that yet. The one of the things about Jeff too, when I was over there at Prospects Live, was the same thing. Like he never gave me crap about my prospect reports, quote unquote, being too long or whatever, and he always just made me feel welcome. And when he left Prospects Live, at least in my opinion, it hasn't been the same. But he's a guy who continues to talk to me, and anytime I can give him any knowledge that we get along or we can get ahead of time, we will pass along. So by the way, I will be leaving this call here at 9:45 as Max Clark will be on a Zoom call. So I'll be jumping off for a little bit. So just as a heads up, but I will have all the details from the Max Clark call as soon as I'm done. So the Yankees we're saying Joel Schumann saying that the Yankees are taking George Lombard at 26.
Interesting.
Which would make sense. Nice. Lombard was there at some point. Or Lombard, well, didn't he? Was he coaching with the Yankees at one point?
He was with the Dodgers.
Or I'm thinking of Marcus. I'm sorry. I've gotten confused. Marcus Timms.
No, it's funny. Everybody and their brother in the mock drafts had Stafura going to the Yankees, I guess, because Sammy Stafura is a shortstop from upstate New York or New York proper, or whatever. Maybe just that was the lazy, easy pick, but apparently they were in to see him a ton. But we learned these things in the draft. Nothing means anything. They were talking to a guy a bunch, and then they ignore him. So that's one less guy for the Tigers to take, but still plenty of good middle infielders available.
All right. My guy, Walker Martin. I'm just saying.
Very possible. And when he comes, we can talk about how awesome of an athlete he is and the insane season he had in Colorado this year, hitting like 620 with 220 home runs. It's high school baseball, but still pretty nuts.
It's so funny that I don't know if this happens to you or if I'm just not very good at this, but I'll see a guy swing one time and I'll know that I like it, but not exactly be able to tell you why I like it. That's me with Walker Martin right now. I know I like it. I know there's something there I like. I just can't honestly tell you what it is, but it's there.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy who really rose up, I think, in this spring. As a guy, because he's also a football player, I believe. So wasn't necessarily always out there on the showcase circuit doing his thing. But, yeah, we don't want to talk about him too much in case he gets drafted by some team we don't like.
Yeah, we don't want to give away the Tigers draft strategy, so let's cool it.
But, I'm just catching up on – I'm going through and filling in some of my old mock draft stuff, so I apologize if I look distracted. But Jake Nosball said walking Aiden Miller to 37. That would be an interesting one. He's one of the top infield prospects for sure. Some of those guys are, like I said, this comp round is where those guys go. Teams, add $500,000, $1 million from later picks. They have a little bit more flexibility. These guys are here. They make those deals. So we're going to see a lot of that soon, I think.
Especially with we talked earlier about the amount of prep players that went kind of earlier than maybe we expected. What did we say? 4 in the top 10, and then several in the teens as well. Like that'll certainly play a factor. And I think there's a lot of teams that are kind of looking at this draft and wanting to get 2 or maybe even 3 prep players out of it.
So the Yankees do go with George Lombard Jr. at pick number 26.
Very nice.
So we're 26 picks in. What is your favorite pick so far, you guys?
Ooh, that's interesting.
I really like Cleveland's pick, Ralphie Velasquez. I like him a lot. I also really like the Tommy Troy fit with Arizona because I think he's just a guy with tools, and Arizona's been doing a good job. If you look past Drew Jones, who's injured and swing is awful. But yeah, I like those 2 picks. They stand out to me.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can go too. I have some thoughts, but Talk too much.
I mean, Max Clark. No, I think my two favorite. I mean, it's really like kind of easy to just say like the Rangers getting Langford at 4 is like probably a massive win for them, considering they, as we said, like don't have picks in the next 2 rounds on top of that. Like, so that's super easy. But I really like the Cubs. I mean, we talked about it, Chris and I talked about it before. That's I really like that a lot. And I'm forgetting his name all of a sudden. Off
Matt
the top
Shaw.
of my head. Shaw, yeah, thank you. Shaw's a damn good ball player and one of the plethora of kind of Big Ten talent that was in this draft. And yeah, so I really like that a lot. And that's honestly a little bit later than I kind of expected him to go as well.
So my favorite, I have 2 picks. Enrique Bradford Jr. for Baltimore. I like that pick a lot, based off what you guys were saying about some of what Baltimore's been able to do development wise. But I think his defensive tools will help him get there pretty quickly and rise in that system, in a system that's already fully loaded. And the other pick I like is Noble Meyer for the Marlins at number 10, because the Marlins I know Kim has to get this draft right because so far her drafts have not worked out exactly well, but the Marlins went with their strength in developing pitching. And so 6'5", this guy's a beast with a couple breaking balls. They're already 60, 70 plus graded. I think I really like that pick by the Marlins.
Yeah.
My vote would be Teal, by the way, just throwing that out there. Kyle Teal to the Red Sox.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mentions in the chat, people talking Teal, talking Taylor. I think I like Chase Davis to the Cardinals. There's a lot of batted ball data there that says he's comparable to Cruz and Langford this year at least, and getting a guy like that. I mean, there's been some issues with him in the last couple of years in terms of swings and misses, but if he really made the fix this year and you could keep that, you're getting a comparable bat to those guys with maybe arguably more power even, and you're getting them 15 picks later. So I like that one.
Or we're getting a spoiler alert in the chat. So somebody's saying Aiden Miller's going to the Phillies.
That's it. Pick 27.
Yes.
And
okay, now 27 picks in. Who is your favorite? No, I'm kidding.
Well, let's see who's left on the board here that hasn't gone yet.
Somebody asked about your least favorite picks. The only reason why I say this is going to be my least favorite pick is because it was predicted, on every mock draft correctly. That's Chase Dolinger from Tennessee. The Rockies were basically like, hey, you know what? No smoke screen, folks. This is what we're going to do. We're going to put all our cards out there, and we're going to let people know.
Well, you also hate that pick because of the fit. I mean,
yes, yeah, exactly. Because he's going to go there, and his ERA is going to soar like the air up there. And that was a bad dad joke, but it's true.
And there's nothing you can do. I mean, they have to take pitching because they're not going to sign pitching, so they have to take it. You just kind of feel bad for the pitchers that they decide on.
Yeah,
because that's just a tough environment to call home.
Yeah,
but I would agree. I think that's my least favorite fit of the night so far.
Yeah, it'll be fun to look back and see who blew the draft. That's always fun. like we mentioned it before. You can look back. It's fun to look back and see the Marlins take JJ Bleday instead of Riley Green.
Yeah.
I laugh and then enjoy it. And I remember it because Bleday had some links to Detroit just from like a personal level, and I liked him. I thought he would be a good fit here, but you never know, man. You get guys in pro ball and suddenly they fall flat. Look at Jacob Berry. I mean, what an awful first year for that dude.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
The
Marlins love players who can't hit.
Mm-hmm.
And Berry was supposed to be able to hit. That was like the thing that he was sold on, and he just hasn't.
Well, he can't field. That's one thing. I mean,
that's true.
I seriously, I don't mean to say that. I don't like to be negative about players, and he probably can field to some degree, but every time I see him play defense, he's making some wild throw from third to first. Like, it's not even close. So it's just tough, especially because he can't hit. But even a year later, right? Like Chris said that he wanted the Tigers to take Nito last year. I was gung-ho that I wanted Jace Young. And he said Nito, and I was like, I don't really think that would work out. I don't think Nito's going to be too good. As it turns out,
well, So that's it. The thing is, like, I went back and watched our draft podcast from last year because I was like, all right, what? Because I have, you never can trust your own memory. And I didn't say a thing about Nito. I think Brandon asked us about Nito, and I said I like him. None of us said we want him. Not on the draft show. None of us said it.
On the draft show, but before the.
I know. I remember saying it beforehand. I'm just saying I went back and I go, damn it, we didn't put it on record, so we can't point back to it. But I do remember thinking, like, yeah, I like that dude. It's athletic. It's it's a funky swing, but he makes good contact, and yeah, he's turned out to be arguably the second best player of the draft so far. And you could say he's the first since he's actually in the big leagues, but I think you'd probably trade him for Jackson Holliday.
I know. I remember we were talking about that before the draft. I'm like, I was looking at some of his numbers, and one of the things you said, Chris, was because of where he went to school, he might get punished for it. And so I was like, all right, well. But yeah, before the draft, and it was after the draft, it just felt.
I mean, we were, because at the time we thought that Young was probably going to go top 10. We figured that one or two of the college hitters was going to fall out. It ended up being Parada, I think, and Young.
Yeah, Parada did, yeah.
And that he hasn't gotten off to a great start either. So it's that whole draft class is looking kind of iffy. You never know, though. That's the thing. This I think 2005 was the best draft class of my lifetime. Maybe like 85 or whatever when Barry Bonds was taken. But 2005 just had dude after dude after dude after dude. And you never know until, but it actually becomes pretty obvious fairly quickly. Like, it wasn't hard in 2021. It was pretty obvious that 2019 was a good draft class because Rutschman was doing his thing. Riley Green
really
awesome.
good.
CJ Abrams looked really good. He hasn't done a ton yet, but in wit. But so we won't know for a little bit. But this, they talk about this being one of the best top fives in a long time. So here we go.
By the way, if you want to know some more about high school Michigan guys, we're going to have one of our experts on after pick number 28, Brian Sikowski, a perfect game, will be joining us. The esteemed Brian Sikowski, the CYO legend, a Catholic League youth organization. Just long story short, he went to a rival school of mine, went different periods of time. Anyway, downriver guy too, downriver Michigan guy. He'll be joining us here after the Houston Astros pick. So looking forward to having Brian on. And he's a national director? Chris, what's his exact title?
I believe he's the Perfect Game National
cross-checker, isn't he?
Yeah, cross-checker. Here comes a high stepper.
Which, cross-checker in scouting parlance is basically a step above a scout, step below the scouting director, right?
Yes.
There's probably a couple more steps in there, but basically when you have your scout come in and say, hey, this guy's good, the cross-checker goes and makes sure that you're not dumb.
Yeah.
Like, yes, this guy is good, or no, you're very wrong. We're going to have to get a new scout.
No, but Brian knows the Michigan area pretty well, too. He does a podcast called Cold Weather Bats that is really good, and it covers all of Michigan, essentially. So he'll give you some more insight on some of the players to look out for.
Yeah, I mean, he's super busy. He's tweeting out the draft. He does a great job of that. We're lucky to get a little interference from him. I don't know if we're going to be able to get into all the, the Michigan-based guys, the Jeb, the Alex Mooney, former Orchard Lake kid, or I think there are a couple kids from Liggett this year, Jaron Purify, and there's another kid whose name I'm blanking on, but the assumption is both of those high school kids are going to college. But we could see Jeb. I mean, Brian even tweeted out earlier that he had some late intel that Jeb might go earlier than people thought. I think he's generally ranked in like the 50 range, so we could see him come off the board the next 20 picks. His batted ball data is almost identical to Jacob Gonzalez, who went 15th, I think. The difference is that Mitch Jeb doesn't always hit the ball in the air.
So the Astros pick, by the way, Bryce Matthews, shortstop out of Nebraska. And speaking of, there is the legend himself, Brian Sikowski. We're talking about him. We're just talking about how, Downriver Rat. We're talking about Michigan baseball too, but we got to, hold on. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us this evening, Brian. How's it going? And how's your draft night been? How's the war room over at Perfect Game right now?
Well, the war room is my hotel room in Hoover, Alabama. Was down here getting some 20.
Wait. That's your hotel room?
Yeah, man. It's one of these extended stays. It's like a damn apartment. It's nice.
Holy crap! It looks like a really nice kitchen somewhere.
Yeah.
Look at that. That's sweet.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
You go on a road trip,
house.
You need a stove, like a real size stove. I'm sick of eating Taco Bell. But yeah, no, draft night's been good, man. It's been flying. My fingers hurt. I'm gonna have carpal tunnel. I'm exhausted, but like that's like what we're looking for on draft night. So been having fun with it.
But yeah, we thought that it would be nice to have you on because you've seen Max Clark a ton, and I think you could give us a better idea of what the Tigers are getting here than just about anybody else we know.
I saw Cody Stavenhagen's replies to his tweet about Max Clark. So, I mean, I understand that the Detroit faithful may be upset with this. I did have Wyatt Langford graded very, very tiny bit ahead of Max Clark. I had Clark right there. He is a left-handed bat, center fielder. There's all kinds of pluses on the card. It's like 70 run, plus arm, plus defense and center. I really think it's a plus hit too. I was worried coming into the season about how much power he was going to have. That was my question mark. That's what kind of kept me from this is a guy that we should talk about at 3 was I didn't know how much power he was going to have. Swing change. Got more loft in the stroke. I went and saw him a couple times this spring. All he did was hit pumps while I was there. I think there's probably average power there long term. And so when you add it all up, you're talking about like a guy who's going to add value on the base paths, a guy who's going to be valuable defensively, who's going to hit for average and hit for enough power to be impactful. You know, I wouldn't shy away from 15 to 20 home runs, that type of thing. I think he's a pretty damned ideal leadoff hitter type of guy. He's an asshole. And I say that with the highest level of compliment. That's not an insult at all. He's just a dick on the field, and like he'll tear your heart out to win. And people talk about like, oh, he only cares about social media. He only cares about being famous. That dude cares about 2 things. Number 1 is being really damn good at the sport, and number 2 is winning. And you could interchange those 2, whichever way you want to put it. So I'm all in on Max Clark. I think that dude's going to stop at nothing to be great in Detroit. I think his mentality fits that whole Motor City blue collar work ethic vibe that we like to tout so often as fans of the city and people from there. I'm on it, man. Like all things being equal, like I probably would have taken Langford. He was higher on my board by 1 or 2 spots or whatever. But with that being said, man, like I don't think there's any reason to be upset with this. I think there were a couple picks they could have made where we could be upset. But Clark, I think he's a guy. I really do.
I got something to sum it up for you, really simply put.
Good stuff. I think people are getting really cranked.
Now the Tigers had him in for a private workout, and we don't know anything about what went on in that private workout, but maybe you heard some whispers?
I just heard he blew it up. I heard that today. I was talking to a guy who used to be a Tiger scout, has moved on from that, but still, holds the contacts, blah, 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 blah. He was telling me, like, man, 5-6 hours ago, he's like, man, if Max isn't going 1, don't be surprised if it's Detroit at 3 because he blew up a workout. So, and we've talked about that before, like Ronaldo Rivera is another one of those guys, but very different players, Max Clark and Ronaldo Rivera.
Darko did that once too, but yes, no, I think it's different. It's much different. And we know they got eyes on him, really good eyes. They probably asked all the right questions. They got the batted ball data, I'm sure, all that good stuff. So they're making this pick confidently, and they getting a tiny haircut here. I guess he said he's taking the 4 slot running.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah.
So and we got tons and tons of questions in the sidebar, but I know I don't know how long you can stay. We'll keep you forever, but I know you got to get back to this, man.
Give me like 100 seconds here if we can do rapid fire questions.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, let's do rapid fire, and let's go with the first question we got. Came in from, let's see, Jake. Yeah, Jake asked, want to know who do you like at number 37?
I've mocked Trent Caraway there a couple times. I don't know if he's going to get there. He's in play in a couple spots before 37. I think that's a guy to watch. I was really circling Dylan Head. I was really hoping that was going to be a guy, but obviously the Padres taking him there at 25. I don't know about arms. I don't have any feel for what Scott Harris likes when it comes to draftable arms. Like I had way more feel for the bats than I do his preference for arms. So I would love to fire out a prep arm who's falling. I think Alex Clemmy's a guy with all kinds of upside. I don't know if they do that because he doesn't throw a ton of strikes yet, but 17 years old, high school kid. Not a lot of them have great command anyways, but I think I'm not saying it's going to be Trent Caraway. I just think like that's a guy that I've heard that they like, that they're on, and is a real possibility anyways.
All right, guys. Anybody else want to ask a quick question before he has like 20 seconds? No, but okay.
We got Ibanez up there making the next pick, so it's probably go time. But
Yeah, go time.
I know people were asking about Jeb and Mooney and all that stuff. We'll find out soon enough.
Yeah, I think Jeb pretty good shot here in round 2, or the comp, and Mooney I'm not so sure on, but either way.
Brian, thanks so much, man.
See you, Brian.
Thanks for having me.
Keep up the good work.
Yeah, awesome kitchen layout, by the way. And also, he was probably the one that has the ringer on. You know why? Because Brian's a boss and gets probably people blowing him up all the time. So I'll allow it.
Especially on draft night, he's getting his phone blown up.
Yeah. I mean, he's getting texts from everybody everywhere. Like, he was really generous of him to give us a little bit of time. And we wanted to get him on because he's seen Max Clark. None of us have seen Max Clark in person, I don't think. Maybe you have, Rhys?
No, I have not.
So he's seen him a ton, and he knows what the kid's about. And I think hopefully that eased some concerns for Tigers fans. I don't know. We'll see.
Also, Brian contributes since day one to the Patreon, Tiger Minor League Report Patreon. So, original founding father for that, as far as I'm concerned. Brian can do no wrong. But Seattle with another pick here.
They've got 2 picks back to back.
Yeah, back to back, and it's almost like that guy in fantasy where they have the is it Snake when they go back to back like that in the draft. Yeah.
Well, back to back picks it reminds me of the great story about when the Angels had 2 picks back to back in what was it, 2010. And their scout absolutely loved a kid named Mike Trout from New Jersey, and they knew how much he loved him. And so, with the first of their 2 picks, they took high school outfielder Randall Grichuk just to mess with him. And then they took Mike Trout with the next pick. And, he was flipping out, but it was a great story. We'll see what the Mariners do. I think Mike Trout ended up okay, and Randall Grichuk ended up being a pretty good pick too in the mid-20s for all things being equal. So that was a fun draft for the Angels, I think.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how that Mike Trout pick turned out. I haven't heard anything from him since.
He's getting hurt all the time. I mean, come on.
But I stopped paying attention to fish after Tim Salmon. So.
Oh man,
there used to be a guy named Mike Fish too. There was a Mike Fish
what?
at the same time as Mike Trout. Yeah.
Nice.
That was bad.
Yeah.
I'm looking for Mike Fish now. What is Mike Fish up to?
All right, well, gentlemen, I'm going to jump off real quick, so I'll be right back. So, Chris,
heading on the call.
Yeah, I'm heading on the call, so
all right.
I'll be right back.
Well, I mean, so yeah, we're doing this. Is this going to kick me?
And we lost Chris's sound.
Oh, are you serious? Yeah. Okay, what about now?
Oh no, I can hear him now.
Yeah, but how about now?
Still now.
All right. Yeah. Okay. We're good. All right.
We're good.
Yeah. So, yeah, Roger's got to jump off to do some real.
Oh, now we
goes.
Now we lost it. Yeah.
I'll just hop over there.
Oh, well, yeah. Now we can hear you, Chris.
This is the one thing.
So we're gonna do is I'm just gonna stare off in the distance because I'll be on the call. So if I'm staring, it's not you guys. If this is the way it's gonna work, so be it.
All right. Yeah. This is the one thing we didn't. We game planned for a bunch of stuff here. We got this set up the best we could. Under the circumstances, and yeah, this
is the best audio we've ever had. So hey,
yeah. I think it's good. Harrison Garrett asked if Max Clark is a leader on the field. You would hope so. You hope, like we talked about, Brian used some choice words to describe him as basically a hard-nosed competitor. But you would hope that extends to rooting for his teammates and stuff like that. And he's not a selfish guy.
He seemed like he was saying the negative words in a positive light.
Yeah, correct.
That's like he used to talk about, a guy who pitched really well. You call him an MFer, and not those language, but yeah, I don't know. We got another Tigers pick coming up here in just a few minutes. So I don't know. Have they restarted yet? I'm kind of glancing over at the.
Yeah, Seattle made their prospect promotion pick. It was
Johnny Farmello.
Yeah.
That's a solid pick. Johnny Farmello, a kid. I think he's from Virginia, another tooled-up outfielder. I think you can compare him a little bit to Dylan Head. So that's fun. But yeah, this is we said. This is what's that?
Who is this? Sorry, I had to walk away for a second.
Johnny Farmello.
I agree.
So who did Seattle take? They took Emerson and now Farmello, 2 high school picks, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't be shocked if they complete the trio here with a high school arm.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's going to be the theme of the draft.
There's a high school lefty out of that area. I don't know if he's in Oregon or Washington. Was it Paul Wilson? That sound right? I don't know.
I wonder if they take Stafura here, or maybe since you took 2 preps, go college and take like Geloff or someone like that.
That would, yeah, you could see that too. If they're gonna give both those guys, it's very possible that Emerson at whatever 22, 24 when they took him, he might get top 15 money, and so might Farmelo. So yeah, that's a good call. They might go a slot here and take a college bat.
I mean, what Morales is still out there, right? You could get Geloff.
Maybe they go. Maybe they go lefty college pitcher. I mean, the next college pitcher up seems to be that Joe Whitman guy from Kent State, or he was Kent State, right? He was at Purdue and then he went to Kent State. That might make some sense.
I think this was the first draft in like 50 years that a college left-hander didn't go in the first round, if you count the competitive balance round as part of round 1.
We didn't get Was there a prep left-hander? There wasn't a prep left-hander either, was there?
No, Thomas White wasn't picked, so there was no
lefties.
pitchers.
Yeah, it's a weird, and I think this is the first draft ever where 4 outfielders went in the top 10, even not let alone the top 5.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have thought that would have happened at some point throughout.
I remember. There's only been 3 in the top 10 a couple times. So here we got Ibanez making another pick. He was coaching the Futures game yesterday, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, Ty
Pete.
Another high schooler.
He's a fun, and he's a fun 2-way guy. Although they said that he hurt his elbow.
Yeah,
didn't really pitch this spring.
Yeah, I think that's a
great pick. I mean, you just got 2 guys that are healthy than you like. You can take a chance with your 3rd pick, right? Plus, you get another high schooler, and you're probably signing him for cheap because of the injury.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's still also a really good hitter, so he might just hit, or like not necessarily a really good hitter, but he's got a lot of offensive potential, right? His power and speed, and there's some minor hit tool questions, but he's a guy. He really seemed to charge up the boards late in this process because you look at Pipeline, you look at Baseball America, he's in the 50s or whatever, and I kept seeing him mocked to the Rays at 31. So this might also be the Mariners sniping Tampa, which is kind of fun. But yeah, that's a fun draft for the Mariners, right? That's in theoretically, as you guys were talking earlier, the Tigers might be able to do something similar. Maybe they take prep kids with their next 2 picks, and then you've got that class of 23 we're talking about.
Right.
But I don't know if they're taking another break for after these picks, or no. This is the start of the supplemental round, right?
Yeah, this is.
I believe so. Yeah.
So
we should be straight through until the end of. This is Comp A.
Yeah, I think it goes through 39, and then 40 starts the second round.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Pete is another guy who's younger for the class. I think Emerson and Pete are both pretty young, and Farmelo might be as well. I don't know.
Pete's an athlete, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when people talk about like drafting profiles and stuff over like stats and box scores necessarily, like that's kind of the definition of right there. That's an athletic kid with some incredible bat speed.
Yeah, he's tooled up. And as I said, I mean, he was a legit pitcher with a low 90s fastball and a good changeup until he maybe tweaked his arm. So you get that fixed. Whatever happens with that, he's probably got a plus arm from shortstop or third base if he fills out some more.
Sure.
ESPN comping Pete to Jazz Chisholm, apparently. That's in our comment section. That's interesting.
And the draft day comps are always spectacular. I remember
they're hilarious.
I remember Dansby Swanson got comped to Alan Trammell.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, he's had a good career, but I don't think Swanson's going to the Hall of Fame. Like you're making Hall of Fame comps. That's a tough one.
Draft day comps are so funny because you're just taking a guy who's like, oh, he has power and can run. So you're going to be like, all right, this is Ronald Acuna Jr. And you're like, hey, it's the 15th round. Probably not.
I love a good comp, but it's, they never work out that way, right? You're comping to the best case scenario.
They have a purpose, but they're just so misleading.
You look like Rhys. Were you going to say something?
Oh, I think one of my favorites was Harold Reynolds. Or who was it? Yeah, no, guy on MLB Network. He has some great ones. He called Brett Beatty Freddie Freeman with power, which last I checked, Freddie Freeman has power. So
decent power, yeah.
Yeah, he's the guy hits for a couple home runs here and there, no big deal. I think He's the best. We were talking about him a lot yesterday because at Prospects Live we did a Futures Game live stream, and it was like all they wanted to do on Peacock was like talk about him like the entire time. They didn't want to talk about any of the players or anything, and they kept doing like those weird interviews in the middle of the game. Peacock. I hope we don't have that next year with the Futures Game on Peacock. That was truly abysmal. And I hope the game's a little bit better than this year's too. This year's game kind of sucked.
Yeah, I didn't even see it. We were at the Tigers game last night, and then not to put business out there, but we went out to eat with the announcer because he had a pretty good day. And so we missed the Futures game for the most part, although we did Adrian Santana to Tampa, Roger tells me. That's not a bad fallback option for Pete. He's a guy that I really liked. What are you going to do? But yeah, so we tuned in. Actually, we saw Justin Henry Malloy face Jacob Mizorowski, which is not fun for anybody. Although, and I mentioned this, Mizorowski was I was watching him play West Michigan the other day, and he was perfect through 4 innings, just mowing him down. It's 100 mile an hour. He's great shape. And then he threw 100 miles an hour to Roberto Campos, and Roberto Campos pulled it over the head of the third baseman. Campos can hit a fastball, man, which is nice to know. There are many other things wrong with his game right now, but anyway, we saw Colt Keith got a hit off him, I think, right? And then wasn't there? I heard there was a funny situation where Colt Keith walked. He didn't want to. He tried to swing late, so he didn't walk. And,
I had tried to get that story out there a lot more, and no one really wanted to pick it up and make it any bigger. But in his AB, so he got the single in the first at bat, right? The bloop single over, not even over the second baseman's head, to the left of the second baseman. Yeah. So he pulls the single, and then in his second at bat, he's I forget who it was. It was one of the Pirates pitchers. Came in and immediately walked the bases loaded, just could not find the strike zone. And Keith, so he goes down 3-0, and then there's a fastball at his chin, and he just hacks because he's not trying to draw a walk. And then the pitch after that was a changeup low, very clearly a ball low. He doesn't swing, and then right after, he steps, takes one step out of the batter's box, and then he just does a fake swing, and he points to the ump, and you can tell he's talking to the umpire, and he's like, "Can that just be a strike? Can I stay in here?" And the umpire's get to first base, dude. And he's like, "Oh, okay." He just wanted to hit. He was like, "I'm not drawing a walk," which is so different from Justin Henry Malloy, who used a challenge on a ball to make sure he drew a walk in his first AB. So, very stark differences in mindset at the plate between our two prospects in the Futures game.
Well, it kind of reminds me a little bit of, and this ended up being kind of bad, but the 2012 All-Star game when Justin Verlander was the starter, right? And that affected home field advantage in the World Series. But Verlander went out there and just tried to throw as hard as possible because he thought that's what people wanted to see. And so he gave a bunch of runs, and I think ended up taking the loss. And lo and behold, the Tigers have to play at San Francisco to start the World Series because Verlander was having fun in an All-Star game instead of trying to win.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
But so we're getting close here.
Yeah.
Some fun names still on the board for sure. This is, I think, Brian mentioned Trent Carraway as a guy he likes for 37. I've seen him mocked to the Brewers here at 33 a lot. So this could be a potential spot for him to go. But if he doesn't, maybe the Tigers. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I just can't get I think it makes a lot of sense with saving whatever million on top. I think it makes a lot of sense to go prep here. And there's a lot of prep talent still that was kind of mocked to go in that whatever 18 to 28 range that's going to be on the board still here.
Yeah, for sure. This is a pretty deep draft. There's a good 70, 80 interesting players that are worth reading up on. And there's going to be talent later in the rounds. There always is. But, there's guys in these next 20, 30 picks who are going to get, like I said, top 15, top 20 money. And Tigers can get two of them.
The Mets.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. He was, isn't he the I'm trying to remember if it was him or Miller think Miller was the guy who had the great track record, but I think broke his hamate this spring and didn't really play, but it doesn't really matter. Although he hasn't gotten picked yet, has he?
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
So maybe it did matter.
Yeah, maybe.
How is Raj talking to me?
Miller got picked by Philly.
What'd you say?
Miller got picked by Philly.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to think. Sorry,
No, you're
just a
good.
second.
So if you guys had a choice, let's say we stick with the prep theme that we've discussed. If you guys had a choice, would you want a prep bat or a prep arm?
I'm all for just injecting this farm system with as many young hitters as possible. Obviously, I'm much more okay with an arm here than I would have been, like really at any point, no matter where the Tigers drafted in the first round, to be honest. But I love the idea of them. I don't know if it was their strategy going into it necessarily. I'm sure part of it is just how the night plays out, but I'm totally on board with the first 3 picks being really young, like high ceiling bats. I think that would be really exciting, and honestly would kind of give this farm system a needed kick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see. Rhys, do you have a thought there?
Oh, sorry. I was scrolling through Twitter. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. What's up?
If we're just taking with the theme of taking prep guys, would you rather a prep arm or a prep bat?
Oh, I'm always prep bat over prep arm. But I think Thomas White's falling to the point where it's like, I think this is a really talented left-handed arm that maybe like they should just pony up whatever it is. Like I keep seeing it being compared to like the Brock Porter situation where it's like going to cost $3 million to get him. And at that point, why not? I mean, Max Clark is a great pick. You can pair him up with Thomas White, who is another top 15, top 20 talent, best left-handed pitcher, maybe totally in the draft as well. Kind of just, and I always like taking those cold weather arms, allowing them to go play in the Florida League Complex League and everything, and like focus on baseball full time. So I'm very excited. I'm very excited about the possibility of that, even though it kind of goes against everything that I think that teams should do. So yeah, I'll go. I think with him or Soto, really, I think you can't go wrong with either one of them at 37.
Yeah, they're. I'm just looking through to see some of the players who were left, and they're still, like we talked about, some of those college bats are still there. The third baseman, although we may have seen kind of a reverse, taking a prep player early and saving money there, and then using that money to get a college player later. That would be kind of an interesting reversal of trends.
Yeah.
So we might see Morales get an overslot deal here in the next 10 picks, or Geloff. I don't know. But
did we get Madden over?
Yeah, they gave him more money.
He was supposed to be like a top 12, like 15 pick.
But I don't think it was much over. He got less than Pacheco.
Yeah.
So you still had to save enough to get Pacheco.
Right, Pacheco got. Yeah, he got. Well
and they
over.
gave Dylan Smith a little extra too. And the report that came out was that Dylan Smith wanted $1.5 million and was going to go back to school. And the Tigers were like, they signed everybody else. We have 1.15. That's all we can give you. And eventually that's what he took.
Oh, there's a good question. What happened to that Miami catcher from a year ago? I can't even think of his name.
Adrian Del Castillo?
Yes. Yeah, ADC.
Oh, he's not doing well. Last I checked,
he's with the Diamondbacks. I don't think he's hitting that well or playing that well
right now. He's in Amarillo, which is, you can't really count that because that's a great hitter's park, I believe. He's at 273 with 12 homers, 40 walks, 67 strikeouts. It's 891 OPS.
Not bad.
Yeah, but again, that's Amarillo. I don't think you can count.
I only brought that up because I was trying to remember his name after I saw the question, and I'm glad you got there.
Josh Noth, going 33rd. He's the kind of Jackson Jobe spin monster this year's class. Kid out of New York, really good high spin curve.
He should have gone 3. What are we doing?
Well, different regime here, I would say. Yes.
Let's calm down.
But so that the Caraway fellow that we were mentioning, that's one potential landing spot gone for him. Tigers are 3 picks away. 4 picks away. Yeah, 34, 35, 36.
Oh, right. Yeah. Count the pick we're on, I guess.
Yeah, for the record here, I'm saying I want Walker Martin, and I'm really excited about it, and really hope that he goes to the Tigers. I just want to point out that in the 2020 draft, I really wanted the Tigers to take Daniel Cabrera over Dylan Dingler. So maybe we shouldn't go with Walker Martin.
Well, so Daniel Cabrera, he was in Double-A, wasn't playing. He was playing about twice a week. They sent him to the development list to rework his swing, and he's now playing in Low-A, which is not a great place to be 3 years after your draft. We'll see how it goes. I'm not terribly hopeful.
That's the Nick Quintana and Jose De La Cruz treatment.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm looking at the top players available according to MLB Pipeline, are Yohandy Morales, Thomas White, Charlie Soto, Walker Martin, Sammy Stafura, and Kevin McGonigal. So then you got Geloff, Jack Hurley, Joe Whitman, the pitcher. Be interesting to see who comes off the board here soon.
I know, again, this is just bias. I don't know who's going to take him, but I really think Blake Walters comes off the board soon. That kid's too good. Too many people have seen him. I mean,
he is here at 41, so he's like the 10th best player available according to them.
And I think he's better than that.
Rob Chwalski, I think he's viewed as the best defensive defensive player in the prep infield class, and I like the swing from what I saw. Obviously, that's all we can really go on at this point.
Yeah,
Chalowski go play Arizona high school ball or anything.
Now Chalowski's one of the he's committed to UCLA, which sometimes guys end up going to UCLA. They just stick with it. That happens at every school, but UCLA is one of the ones like Stanford, UCLA. I tend to look at those guys and go, huh. But yeah, you're right. Chalowski is considered arguably the best. I think he's also a quarterback. Maybe I'm mistaken too, but he's definitely a very good defender, and they think he can hit. It's for whatever reason there hasn't been a ton of impact with his bat. He's like 6'2" and 195 or something like that. But if you think you can teach a guy to add power, he'd be a fun bet for sure, because that's like you said, he's probably a legit shortstop. And, Tigers haven't had one of those come through the draft in a long time. We got a lot of Jackson Jobe arguing going on in the chat.
You can't even say his name, dude. It's like saying Bloody Mary in the mirror. It's just bam. Then there's just like a million comments about him.
Jackson Jobe pitched today in Lakeland. His data remains absolutely alien. It's a 2,600 RPM fastball at 96 to 98. It's 3,100 RPM breaking ball, 3,000 RPM slider. He's added a 2,800 RPM cutter. All the data is just absurd. He just needs innings and to learn how to pitch. He had, I think, 13 swings and misses in 2 2/3 today.
He's a unicorn in two different respects. He's a unicorn with a spin on his fastball and a spin on his slider. Teams are looking for a guy with one of those, right? Teams love to find a guy. Maybe you can get a guy, the Rays do it all the time with, let's say, Elvin Rodriguez. They turned him into something for a hot minute there, right? Yeah. Elvin Rodriguez had good data on one of his pitches. That's what they're looking for, and they can try to develop something else. Jackson Jobe has 2 of those pitches already, right? He has 2 elite spin pitches. That is not normal. It is ridiculous. And as I said before, just because you wanted Marcelo Mayer doesn't mean Jackson Jobe's a bad pick. Just because you don't like prep pitchers in 3rd overall doesn't mean Jackson Jobe's a bad player, right? He's such a unique pitching profile. And that gives him as much of a chance, even more of a chance than most, to be special.
Yeah, I mean, pitchers are risky. We saw him get injured, but he's back now and he's firing 98, and hopefully he's going to be up in West Michigan in the next week or two. But yeah, so we've got Captain Spin Rate on the mound and Captain Exit Velo. Okay, he's talking about Spencer Torkelson being Captain Exit Velo. But
I just wanted to chime in and say that I'm really
you're what now?
Yeah, so I just want to make sure I left the Zoom call and make sure I was muted completely. I'm really excited about the Max Clark. Yeah, we just got a chance to talk to him now, and he's still talking to the press right now. One of the things that he didn't know until 10 minutes as the pick was coming up. So, but he got a really, really good vibe from Detroit, and he's really eager. And again, for being at his age, media savvy, you could tell he's a pretty quick learner. And the one question I did ask him was, what does he do outside of baseball to kind of refocus and re-challenge himself a little bit? He says that, he likes to read and hit the weight room because it allows him to clear his mind. But yeah, very good kid. And he's just the upside with some of the things he's going to work on, and he's getting ready to go. So, but yeah, the audio, by the way, the Tigers are archiving the audio, and I'll try to put it in the podcast for tomorrow. So just a heads up. But yeah, he was Max Clark. He literally is stoked to be in Detroit. That you just the smile, everything was saying it. So, but anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt the flow, but I just wanted to,
So Charlie Soto went to the Twins.
Damn it!
I saw in the
of course Minnesota could.
I saw him in the Fangraphs chat. Eric Longenhagen made a Bruce Dar Gratterall comp for him as a really heavy sink, tail type pitcher, which I think you'd take in the comp round. But so yeah, Tigers are just 3 picks away. Still Trevor's guy is still out there. Still some interesting college bats out there. Very fascinating to see which direction they take here.
Are we going pitcher? Go ahead.
I'm just still into this Jackson Jobe conversation in the comments. It's very interesting. He's hardly pitched. He's going to be 21 years old, but guys, it's going to be fine. I promise.
He did get Rhys Olson, right? So
yeah, Trevor was a big Rhys Olson guy, and we were. I was low on Rhys Olson. I thought the fastball was going to get crushed, and his command took like a full grade leap as soon as he got to the big leagues. I was like, "What's going on?"
Wait, is this Raj? Is this when I give my speech? I got my phone ready.
Yeah, please do your speech, please.
I don't actually have a speech ready, but Olson. Let's talk about Jobe and Olson, right? Jobe has something Olson doesn't have, which is a really, really good fastball. What Olson has is 3 really good secondaries and a feel to throw them. What Jobe has is a really good fastball, good secondaries, and no feel to throw them. So what do you think happens as Jobe collects more innings and learns how to pitch? And I know that these are old and archived games, but I implore you, if you have MILB TV, have a friend that has MILB TV, whatever, go into the archives. Go watch Jackson Jobe's first start in Bradenton that we all got to see. And then, wash your eyes out because you're going to need after that start specifically. Then come back and watch Jackson Jobe's most recent start that you can see and tell me that you don't see a guy who is a completely different pitcher on the mound, right? You went from a guy who's just chucking the ball to a guy who's using his pitches a little bit, and he's just going to keep learning. And as he learns to pitch, then we're going to start to really see the benefits of having a data unicorn like Jackson Jobe.
Yeah, in interviews, he's proven to be a guy who really, really digs into that data too, and is learning how to manipulate his fastball so it's most effective. He seems to be fully bought in all the modern techniques.
So he talked about that after when we talked to him in West Michigan.
Yeah, so I don't think you have to worry about him not maximizing his potential in that regard. Now, pitchers break, pitchers bust out because of reasons that are beyond their control. But I don't think you have to worry about work ethic, and you don't have to worry about the stuff. He's going to make it work eventually. Yep. So it's just a matter of getting him healthy up to the major leagues.
So Thomas White's still on the board here, but I have a feeling Miami's going to grab him right here at pick 35.
Miami's going to go with the old Kansas City Royals technique and just take all the pitchers you can.
Yeah. Yeah, Thomas White. There it is. He was predicted to go as high as 10 with the Marlins, so they get their pitcher here too as well. So they keep continuing to do what they do. They are a pitching development machine, so why not?
Might as well do it.
All right, so who's on the board?
Morales is still out there. Gallup is still out there. We've got Carraway. You got Kevin McGonigal. You got Walker Martin, right?
Walker Martin. Blake Walters.
Trevor's other guy. Trying to see. Let's see. Best available. Undrafted. Yeah, you got Jack Hurley, the Virginia Tech center fielder. Joe Whitman, the Kent State pitcher. Travis Sikora, the hard-throwing pitcher from Texas. I don't know how you feel about that pick. Cameron Johnson, the hard-throwing lefty from Florida.
So Detroit's on the clock. Is the Dodgers not getting their 36th pick, or?
I think that I assume the Dodgers were making their pick.
Yeah, that's what I thought so too.
Are you looking at the draft tracker? Because the MLB draft tracker is kind of weird.
No, I'm looking at the ESPN tracker. It has.
Okay.
But somebody in chat said the Dodgers or the Detroit was on the clock. So,
Because for some reason, the MLB draft tracker that I was looking at, it goes like CBA 35 Miami, and then it shows CBA 37 Detroit. But then if you go look at round one, I guess they're counting this as their round one pick. I don't know. Kind of weird.
It's bizarre. The Dodgers and Mets, I think, had their first round pick moved down because of luxury tax purposes.
Yeah.
Let's see. Mets first round pick dropped 10 spots from 22 because Mets exceeded the competitive balance tax by more than $40 million.
You know what, guys? I like Mitch Jeb here at 36 for the Tigers, or 37 for the Tigers.
Nice.
I could see that.
Yeah, I like that.
Sure.
Just for the record, I like Yo-Yo Morales right here for the Dodgers.
Yeah, that's a good Trevor. That's a good call right there.
Mm-hmm.
I like Morales a lot too, but yeah, no problem. Brandon, by the way, was saying is bad. No, it's okay because of the tracker, the funkiness. So don't worry, no worries. But yeah, the Tigers are. I don't know. The reason why you were talking about the batted ball data, Chris, earlier on Mitch Jeb, and I started doing some digging. He's a left-handed hitter, and he's not bad at defender either.
No, honestly, I mean, people might scoff at this comp, but when I watched him play, he reminds me of Zach McKinstry. He's got a funny, like almost old-timey pre-integration swing where he like leans back and then pops forward, and it's built for contact the opposite way, but he can pull the ball. He's got some pop. He just needs to get up in the air a little bit more. But yeah, he's a plus runner. He's probably not a shortstop, but I think you could play him in second base and center field. And yeah, he would be a fun pick for the Tigers there, and a guy that you could try to develop a little bit.
Harrison wants to know what would be the next pick to put me in the pool. Honestly, I would let I would let the fans pick that one. I'll let the fans decide that.
That's a bold call. You're going back in the pool.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, like if they took a college senior here or something like that, I'd be like, huh?
Okay.
But I mean, unless it's like Josh Rivera had a great college senior season, I wouldn't hate that if they're using that to save some more money for 45 or whatever. But
you know what? Yeah, I'll let the panel of my guests here. Our guests pick that. I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'll give the fans a little bit ultimate decision here, but
I vote he jumps.
I vote he jumps as well.
So, I don't spoil things here. Huh?
What? Oh,
no, I just saw that the Dodgers are apparently taking a player who I didn't even learn about. I didn't bother educating myself on him because I didn't think he was getting drafted today. Not like I said, I don't want to spoil it, but.
But spoil it. Who cares?
It's Kendall George, outfielder from Texas.
There it is.
That's what Longenhagen has. He's super fast.
Huh.
But yeah, I don't think there's any pop there. It's the Dodgers. He'll end up being Mickey Mantle, but kind of interesting.
He'll probably wind up being a pretty good pitcher too.
He'll do everything.
Yeah, right.
I will say this, we talk about the Dodgers development machine, and it is fantastic. It's not 100% foolproof. They could not fix homeboy from Vanderbilt, the center fielder, a couple years back. I've forgotten his name, but he was, elite defender, elite speed, elite arm. Never
Jaron Kendall.
Jaron Kendall. I've watched Attic Bruns pitch a couple times now, and he was their first rounder last year, a lefty, and the stuff is undeniable. It's upper 90s from the left side. He's got 3 legit secondary pitches that'll flash plus, but he doesn't throw nearly enough strikes right now. And the Dodgers, maybe they'll get that to work. I would trust them, but right now I wouldn't put better than 50-50 odds on it because he's just all over the place.
Yep. What I've learned is if you're a prep pitcher and the Dodgers draft you and you decide you want to go to school to get drafted higher, it's probably not going to go well for you. That's happened a couple times, starting with Funkhauser.
Well, Also, just like, I mean, obviously, money is the biggest factor at the end of the day for a lot of those deals. But like most schools, if you're just comparing your development path, like, hey, do you want the Dodgers minor league development system working on your game, or do you want to go to, fill in the blank university? Like that. It's a heck of a decision to make as far as your playing career goes. But yeah, obviously, the money is big talker at the end of the day.
Fill in the blank university sounds like a place I could pass at, so that'd be cool.
If I can pass there, anybody can pass there. Let me tell you, brother.
You know what, man? It's probably better than ITT Tech. I'll just tell you that much. No offense to anybody that's gone to ITT Tech. I'm sure it's a fine university, but somewhere my wife is yelling at me. So anyway,
I did get one rumor about who the Tigers are going to pick. I put it in our private chat because I don't want to spoil anything. But if you guys want to take a look at that, that's fine. It's just a rumor.
Oh. Interesting.
We will see.
Is the other person on our chat been right at all? By the way,
I have not looked. I didn't even put that as in my group of public mocks. I have a spreadsheet with all the public mock drafts,
except his because he sucks.
Well, there are a couple people who I didn't do. I went with the main ones like Keith Law and Baseball America and Pipeline and Fangraphs, and I put Perfect Game because Sikowski did it. But yeah, I did not do other ones, so I don't know how he's doing in this draft. But we've got the Tigers on the clock, do we not?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
So
I'm getting that potential pick ready.
Tigers on the clock during a commercial break. Classic.
Oh, this is when they get their Nikola Jokic, right?
Yep, exactly.
Get a cheesy taco and a Hall of Fame center.
All right. This doesn't help our listeners, but if that rumor turns out to be true, I just rewatched some video. I'm in.
Yeah, no, it's yeah.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah, thank you for waiting, Rhys.
No problem. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, I would be totally happy with a pick.
Yeah,
and we'll see because it could be completely wrong. Like I said, this is just what the rumor with absolutely no substance so far.
That is a rumor that has absolutely no substance.
So are we calling it quits after this, or are we going to wait till 45? Or are they even going to 45 tonight? Are they going through the second round?
No,
I don't think
they are.
so. I think 2 through 9, 2 through 10 is tomorrow. I think this is just combo.
Gotcha.
Here we go.
All right, let's see here. Who are they going with?
Are we getting audio again?
Oh crap! I didn't set it up in time. Sorry, I was.
Oh, you're good. I heard high school, but I genuinely didn't hear the name. So it is.
Yep, it's the name. Yep, it's the guy.
There you go. Okay,
yeah,
so our rumor was.
So it's Kevin
accurate.
McGonigal. Kevin McGonigal listed as a shortstop out of Pennsylvania, I believe, right?
Yep.
Kind of generally considered the best pure hitter among the high school infield crop. So the Tigers really did well here.
Does that sound awesome or what? Like,
it's a really nice left-handed swing, tons of contact, tons of performance on the showcase circuit. Probably not a shortstop because he's not like a twitchy athlete, but above average hit, average to above average power, second baseman is the projection there, I believe, from what I've read and what I've looked at.
Chris, it feels like it's been a while since the Tigers have gone back-to-back high school picks.
For position players, I can't recall. There was the year they drafted Porcello. They also took another prep pitcher with their comp pick that round, I think, and that kid washed out in A-ball. Yeah, but I'm trying to remember. They took Parker Meadows and go ahead.
Oh no, sorry, you keep going.
No, I'm just doing drafterbation. You guys actually talk about this player while I look into it.
Yeah, and I'm
so McGonigal. I mean, let's just thinking back to what Scott Harris said when they traded for Justin Henry Malloy, right? They want guys who can control the zone. They want guys who are basically the opposite of anything that was there already, because Al Avila's prospects did not control the zone very well. Let's just be honest about it. The hefty portion of them didn't. So you are getting a guy who can control the zone pretty decently, according to reports. He has good pitch recognition at the age of 18 years old or 17 years old. and he's got that smooth, compact lefty swing out of a middle infielder. So I think you're looking at a really good pick at 37. I think that's a solid get for the Tigers.
And even if he gets to move off shortstop, like he, from what I've seen, he looks decently athletic, so he'll stick in like the infield somewhere. Maybe if the bat's not, maybe if he doesn't hit for a ton of power, maybe he doesn't profile at third base. But it seems like he has more than enough athleticism to be above average at second base, which is fantastic.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that have already kind of started the conversation of moving him to second. I think he got work there in a showcase as well.
Ooh.
But yeah, so that's, I mean, obviously the natural thing. It sounds like for him to just move to second base there. But yeah, this is obviously you draft for the bat and figure out again, like Rhys said, he's an athlete, but you draft for the bat and you'll figure out where to put him when the bat comes along, which I'm totally fine with putting a lot of those type of players in the system at the moment.
Walter with an interesting question. I'd pull it up if I could, but does he rank above Pacheco?
Oh, interesting.
That's a.
Well, I would at this point. I mean, Pacheco, we talked about earlier. He's almost certainly not a shortstop. We didn't. He's played mostly third base this year. They just have him playing some shortstop for fun, I think. I think McGonigal has a superior hit tool, just based on bat to ball skills. Pacheco has much more raw power, but if you can't hit
all fields,
if you can't hit the ball enough, can you get to the raw? But does it matter? So I would probably. We had Pacheco pretty high on our last draft ranking. I want to or rankings at Tigers Minor League Report. I want to say we had him 5th or 6th.
Yeah,
and I think we have to slide him down this year just based on his performance. He's struggling to hit 200. He's striking out a ton, which it's weird because when we see him in Lansing, he looks like a future Hall of Famer, but everywhere else he can't hit. So, but yeah, I mean, I'd be inclined probably to put McGonigal ahead of him right now. But
yeah, Kevin might
be fairly close.
I think Kevin might be in our top 5.
Definitely possible. I mean, he's a guy. I think he's always been mentioned as a potential first rounder.
I mean, you got Keith, Clark. You probably have to put. I mean, you're going to put Job up there. Young. I don't know. I don't know. You can get him top 5 necessarily, because that's still without necessarily Wilmer Flores or.
Well, here's a better question: is he better than Peyton Graham?
Yes.
Yeah,
I would say so.
Yes.
By a lot.
I'm not a huge Graham guy personally.
I'm not either.
Graham can't hit. Like it's rough. Like the tools are cool and everything, but he just has not shown an ability to make contact with. And I think he's out with an injury right now.
Yes.
But yeah, he's struggling with fastballs and I think breaking balls as well, which is not a fun combo. If you can't hit either, then you're not going to be able to hit anything.
Right.
So
it's a rough profile.
Yeah. It was a fun pick at the time, but then you're like, is this the right organization to maximize this sort of guy? And then it's kind of like, it's been really rough. He's been one of the worst hitters, I think, that I routinely come across from what I cover. And then when I watch video and they go play Bradenton, I'm like, oh, yeah, this guy's not. I don't think this guy is worth the 2nd round pick, unfortunately.
He's like 140 pounds. That's, I think, one of the main issues is and it's a frame that doesn't look like he can put weight on. Like, I mean, it looks like you could, but how gaunt he is in the face just looks like he might be one of those guys who cannot add weight no matter what. He's like a Chet Holmgren level skinny. So yeah. So who might be the Tiger shortstop of the future?
Javi Baez.
Javi Baez, yes, for the next 4 years.
Next 4 years, you best believe it's Javi Baez.
And a hush fell over the stream.
Yeah.
I wouldn't rule out I guarantee you that you're going to send McGonigal out there as a shortstop. He might play some second and third. They do that with everybody. But you play the guy at his best position or the best possible position until he proves he can't, right? And the book on McGonigal is he's really like gritty and has great instincts. He just might lack the top end athleticism to stick at shortstop long term.
I'm going to go
for those asking about Young, by the way, Young a second baseman. Yes, Jace Young plays second base. You don't draft based on that. You don't skip on McGonigal because you think he's a second baseman and you already have Jace Young there. That's just not how the baseball draft works. There's so much stuff that happens. So don't worry about positionality and all that stuff with the MLB draft.
Correct. There's the other nailer, by the way, to Oakland.
Miles Naylor.
Yes, he's joining Denzel Clark. We got two in the family on each.
Right, yeah. I mean, like Young has certainly been on a little bit of a. I guess I don't know, like immediately, but like he had a pretty good June, went on a little bit of a heater there, but like, I mean, there's far from enough evidence to like guarantee that Young is your second baseman of the future at this point as well. So like, definitely not a reason to avoid the position.
Yeah, he was.
Oh, by the way, the last time the Tigers drafted back-to-back high school position players, please correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, they like to start the draft or
to start the
general?
draft.
Okay,
the first two picks, round 1 and 2.
The Scott Moore year.
Scott Moore, yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Scott Moore,
2002?
and 2002.
Nice.
And Brett Cleveland.
Brett Cleveland.
Yep,
Yeah.
Cleveland, out of Westwood. So, just want to give you a heads up.
Brief Tigers legend Brett Cleveland.
Yeah.
Where he came up and hit a home run in Fenway Park and threw a guy out at home, and everybody's like, "Oh man, look at this tooled up monster!"
And,
then,
please tell me if I'm wrong. I'm wrong, but if I think
Well, no, I mean, I think you're right because I don't remember how many times they went high school to start a draft. They did take high school players back to back plenty. They did it with Parker Meadows and the other Kingston Liniak with like second, third round a couple years ago, I think.
Yeah,
maybe Liniak,
but not the first two picks, right?
Yeah,
I forgot about Liniak.
No, that was the Hugh Smith draft too, man. What could have been?
Yeah, well, I mean,
remember when we were telling you saw he was going to make a start at West Michigan and he got scratched?
Yeah, we were there for his start, and it was like, no, you're getting. Oh God,
really?
Who was?
Yeah, dead serious.
Who was the good? It's an international kid who we used to see all the time. I've forgotten his name, but yeah.
Is it like a known recent Tiger prospect-ish guy?
Yeah, we saw instead of Hugh Smith. No, he was a low A, double or high A lifer.
Ah, gotcha.
But so yeah, I mean that's it for the draft day. Then we're not getting. For some reason, I thought we were getting round 2, and I'm disappointed.
No,
I want more draft. It's a 3.5
Walker
hour show.
Martin, round 2 to the Tigers. Walker Martin, let's go.
Well, they have
the
the 5th pick tomorrow, I believe. 6th pick, I guess, if you count correctly. 40, 41, 42, 43, 45. No, that's 5. It's late. It's been a lot of draft coverage. So yeah, they'll be making some calls tonight, see what kind of deals they can strike. But I don't know. Somebody pointed out, you're getting up the middle defenders with above average hit tools. That's not a bad place to start.
Couple of lefties too. There's been a lot of influx of lefties lately. I mean,
so they're saying sorry.
Like Keith's a lefty, Young, obviously McGonigal and Clark, Meadows. They got a ton of lefties that are coming through the pipeline here.
So the fellas in the chat are saying round 2 is going on right now.
Oh, nice.
This is tonight.
Really?
So
all right.
We wait 5 more picks. We get one more Tigers.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm pushing through to this next Tiger pick, and then I have to duck out.
Yeah, I think we're all going to duck out here because we're pushing on 4 hours. But really appreciate anybody and everybody who came and joined us. And huge thanks to you guys, Trevor, Scott, Rhys, for sticking with us this whole time. It's been fun from my end, at least.
Always is.
I was trying to go to the Fangraphs board and sort, because you can sort their tool grades or whatever to see how they had McGonigal and Clark ranked, but it's not working for me, so whatever. But I'd be curious to see where they rank in terms of hit tool in the entire draft class. I guess we'd all be curious.
Sorry, I'm doing the tweet. It's the first time the Tigers have picked back-to-back high school picks that are positional players since 2002. Since 2002, yeah.
2002, and that would have been Dabrowski's first draft, right?
Yes,
because he took over in 2002, right, and fired.
He fired him at the beginning of the year,
like a week into
it. Yeah, after they went
0-5, like a week and a half into the season.
No, well, it was the writing was on the wall when they hired him, and
it's just like it's hilarious timing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to update my header.
Well, so do we now have a favorite for the Tigers at pick 45? Anybody?
Walker Martin.
No. Walker Martin would be fun.
Blake Walters.
That's where you get your pitcher. I wouldn't mind Joe Whitman. Yeah.
Maybe Yo-Yo Morales. I mean, he's still there.
I'm surprised he's falling. So I guess all these high school kids got pushed up, so he's going to be the one who falls as a result of it.
I'm not necessarily as
Well, there
surprised. Maybe I have the wrong impression of him, but he seems like an empty power guy, and those guys tend to fall. I mean, like Alex Pinellas, right? I mean, when you just have power, it's hard to adjust to professional pitching if you are still swinging and missing so much at college pitching. Once you reach a certain point in the pro level, it's not going to get any easier. So I don't know. Those empty power guys scare me a lot.
I do think there's a touch more contact with him, but I would agree with the profile. I think it's
Mhm.
I think that could lead to the thing. And like we said, all these prep guys are just rising up the boards. I know that's the strength of the class. I thought that those would get pushed down, and everything else would get pushed up. Like obviously we saw Kyle Thiel fall a little bit further than I thought. I thought we'd see Joe Whitman because he's the only good college lefty in this draft. Like I'm surprised he didn't get pushed up into the first round. Like I mean, and we see teams, they always draft bad college pitchers in the first round that end up being bad pros. They were good college pitchers, they're just bad pros. So I'm surprised. Like not that I'm saying Joe Whitman's bad. I hope he's good. I hope everyone who gets drafted is good. But I'm surprised that he's still around. He's the one who's
is that a Chris Bubich statement, right, Rhys?
Well, no one's as good as Chris Bubich. Chris Bubich finally figured it out, and then he got hurt, which is rough.
For those who don't know the joke, Rhys is the president of the Chris Bubich fan club.
It was rough for a couple of years. It was just me showing up to the meetings. Crying.
So
buying pizza for himself. Yep.
Yeah.
So just to again, this is just numbers, and this is based on the Baseball America report. They have, I've talked about a couple times. They have the contact rate, swing and miss, the 90th percentile exit velo. Morales is actually, in terms of contact and 90th exit velo, he's the closest in the class to Dylan Cruz. It's 75% contact for both of them. 108.9 exit velo for Cruz, or for Morales. 109.6 for Cruz. That's 90th percentile. But the huge difference here: 20% chase for Cruz, 29% chase for Morales.
Well, and the other difference is the aggression in the approach, because Morales does not want to walk, and he does not. I mean, he doesn't want to strike out, obviously, but he doesn't want to walk, so he's swinging that bat. So when you're talking about the difference in 9%, what's the difference in the amount of swings? You know what I mean?
Just a second, guys. I got to change the channel.
We don't have to worry about Yo-Yo Morales being there because he just got picked by Washington.
Yeah, he just went to the Nats.
And again, I wasn't meaning to talk negatively about him. I still think he's a really good player with a lot of really interesting ability. It just those swing and miss power bats scare me in drafts.
Trevor hates Yo-Yo Morales is what's going to be clipped as. You hate
Yeah,
him.
that's probably it.
But no, poor Yo-Yo ending up. Washington's not the place that like you want one of those guys ending up in. I think it's a tough place to develop.
He and Brady House are going to duke it out, I guess.
There you go.
Did you guys see the pick?
Who to watch the pick?
Yes.
Morales.
There you
Wow.
go.
Yeah, it got announced on ESPN, so that's why I don't know if
So-
MLB is behind.
So what do you guys think? I mean, Washington getting Cruz and Morales. What do you think of that?
Heck of a
It's
night.
fun for them.
Yeah.
I mean, it is kind of funny though, because they have a fair amount of pretty interesting hitters in their system now with Wood, and I'm not crazy on what's his name, the outfielder, the third,
Robert Hassel the third.
Robert Hassel the third. Yeah, he's
The third.
But yeah, I mean that's two pretty big time power bats to add to the system.
Man, I like Wood though. I like Jake Wood, or like Wood a lot. That's gonna be a sound drop someday. Honestly,
No, they've done a very interesting job getting just athletes.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rhys, what were you saying?
Dalen Lyle has also been really good. I think he's one of the most
Yeah.
underrated players in all the minor leagues. He's been
I
fantastic.
agree. Yes,
So you think
Rhys.
is
There you go.
see here, Jake or Oakland? Okay, so they got Ryan Lasco.
Ryan Lasco,
Rutgers.
Rutgers outfielder.
Yep.
That's an interesting one. I didn't see. Yeah, so that I wonder if they're saving a little bit of money there to get Naylor, and or maybe not. Maybe they just like him there at 41.
No, I think they're saving money there.
Well, if any of you guys got to go, I totally would understand. At this point, we're at hour 3:43. As soon as the Tigers pick is done, we'll be calling it an evening, and then tomorrow, second round coverage. I don't know, Chris. Do you want to feel,
What's that?
if you feel off to it? I mean, I was gonna say we can wait till Tuesday to go do another show.
So the Tigers really day two goes a little faster, but it's still not
It's exciting.
Like you could do day 3 and probably get all 10 picks, and I guess it's like about the same amount of time as we've done this show. But day 2 might be like 5 hours, and but we'll certainly, we could pop in, and maybe after they draft everybody, we can talk about who they took there. I did get another rumor earlier about who they might take in like the 4th or 5th round, but don't want to spoil that because who the hell knows?
You guys let me know. I'll hop back on with you.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Well, thank you guys so much again. Follow these guys on Twitter. They both work at Just Baseball. And Trevor, you work also. You do a lot
Baseball
of
HQ.
Yeah,
Baseball and Bless
HQ.
You Boys.
And Bless You Boys. And Rhys, you're still working with Prospects Live, correct?
Yep, still working with Prospects Live every day, doing the daily sheet.
Yep.
Nice.
The daily sheet, by the way, the daily sheet is awesome work. It's a grind. It is grind. That was one of the first things I did there. Yeah, that's.
As you and Trevor both know, actually.
Yeah, I remember one of the guys that stood out during that time was Jose Miranda, the Twins. He was putting up some big numbers, and so. But all right, well, we appreciate it, Scott. Do you have to go? Because if you have to go, that's understandable.
No, you know what?
I was going to sweat it out for the Tigers.
I would. I should have had to have gone like an hour ago, but my co-host lost power, so we can't talk about DeBrincat. So I'm still here until he has power.
Oh, that's cool. The Pirates picked Jeb. Damn it.
Oh, that's a good pick. I like that.
Yes, they did.
Oh, you want the link? Oh, so I'm going to share the link for Prospects Live in here. The hot sheet.
So the daily sheet is a paid thing. Just so you know, you have to subscribe to the Patreon.
Yeah, I think it's the lowest. No, the $5 tier gives you the daily sheet, and it's every day, Tuesday through Sunday, because my league travel day is Monday. And you get every prospect, whether they're fantasy relevant or not, the good performers. We have to talk about every player who hits 2 home runs in one game. It's called Double Dong. And yeah, it's a great time. I cover single A, so I get to do a little low minors guys because actually single A is the closest league to me out here in the Cal League. So I figure I might as well cover that. So, but yeah, so join the Patreon there if you feel so inclined.
Yeah.
Get in before somebody has a 3 home run game because that's a whole separate thing.
It's a throng of dongs.
That is a throng. Yep.
All right, whoever wants to stick around can stick around. So if you guys, like I said, if you have to go, I totally understand. But
I'm here for the Tigers pick for the night.
I'm here for the Tigers pick. Absolutely.
Sweet. Okay.
We got
cool.
Reds, Royals, and then Tigers, and some interesting. The one guy we thought that maybe would be there, the last pick, Caraway. He's still out there.
Mm-hmm.
That would be kind of fun.
Do we think they go with like the prep trifecta here?
Be fun. We've.
I think that's
that right.
Thought.
What pitchers are left? Is there any good pitchers? Is Joe Whitman still out there?
Whitman's the main kind of, and then you've got the prep arms, right? Cameron Johnson, and Sakura Walters. So
I like Sakura too. Yeah, or even Cameron. He's a what? He's an athlete.
Massive. He's like 6'6", 240. I think is like what he's like that.
Cameron Johnson too. That guy's huge, 6'4" or 6'5", 240.
Yeah, Sakura scares me. Because it's that Tyler Kolek, who's the Allen kid that the White Sox took? Like these kids who are massive and already throwing 100 almost never seem to work out.
The Reds picked up Stafura.
Sammy Stafura.
I can't pronounce the name. So.
Hey, if the Tigers pick Blake Walters, I will jump in Chris's pool. Probably not immediately because I'm not in the same state, but eventually.
I'll push you in.
Oh, we're going to be pushed in? All right. I will let push me in the pool.
That's a dick move. No, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I'll push him in. Yeah, you're getting pushed in, dude.
That's fine. That is fine. You know what? I will do it for the clout. I will let Rogelio push me in the pool the next time I'm up in Michigan if the Tigers get Blake Walters. I've said it on a stream.
Okay.
There's record of it.
Oh, I do like Eric Batoni. Yeah,
Batante, I believe, right? Yep.
He's from where my brother goes and plays college ball. That area. And people really like him. I think his coach is on that same staff. I have no idea, but yeah, he's actually really interesting. He's super famous out here. He's massive. He's not your usual California shortstop either. He's like 6'4" and then like pushing 220. He's massive.
Yeah, he was one of my 5 favorite prospects of the night. I really like him a lot.
He's the one I compared to Pacheco. because they're almost the exact same size. They're both super athletic for their size, and their birthdays. He doesn't turn 18 until mid-November. It's like one day apart from Pacheco's 18th birthday when he was drafted.
It's just a dawn on me that if they go with Walters, there would be 3 guys all on the Eastern time zone, which is, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, he's from Illinois.
Walters is not on the Eastern time zone.
According to high school, it says as him as
he's in Illinois, right?
Yeah,
Illinois.
He's in Illinois. Illinois.
Oh well, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Time.
The eastern side of the country. There we go.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
What I meant to say. Sorry.
Yeah,
My bad.
yeah.
I was gonna say I'm in Illinois, man. I know what time it is.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
You could argue. Oh, there goes Walters right there, the Kansas City.
Yeah, there's Walt.
Oh, all right.
Oh, they're doing the high school pitching thing again.
Yeah.
By the way,
that
Michael
worked out so well for him last time, didn't it?
Michael was talking about they need MLB set up for Lakeland next season. We've heard
it's coming.
We heard it's coming. So
wasn't that part of the thing? Part of the shrinkage was that they had to have it by a certain year.
I think everybody has to have it, right?
Yeah.
Because Lake County didn't have it last year in the Midwest League, right? And then so I thought they still didn't have it this year, and they do now.
Yeah, I got the Illinois Central Time, folks. Okay, Eastern Time Zone. I've been on air for almost 4 hours. Sorry, folks.
Yeah, I'm an hour behind you, so actually it would be 3 hours for me that I've been on air.
No, but
that's how it works. Yep.
I'm 3 hours ahead, so I've only been on for like 40 minutes. I'm fresh.
But yeah,
I'm tired. I hate you all. No, I'm joking. I love you guys. I'm just joking.
Well,
we love you, Raj.
All right, so Detroit's on the clock here.
So
on the clock, baby.
Wait, so who went?
Walker Martin.
Well, that was Walters.
Yeah, Walters went to Kansas City.
Walters went to KC. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize we were already. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, Walker Martin's available. Jake Geloff. You want a college back?
I got
Whitman if you want a college arm.
I'm gonna weigh in. I like my. Was it Jake Geloff? Is he still there?
He's still available. College third baseman. They take an outfielder. They take
or
an
Cameron
infielder.
Johnson. The Cameron Johnson, the pitcher.
Cameron Johnson would be interesting.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Are they going to make the pick on that?
Or there's a Cole Schoenwetter too.
Cole Schoenwetter.
Yeah,
yeah.
I sound drunk. How about I'm just tired? How about I was in a pool?
I don't. Unless they're talking about audio issues.
Oh, well, my voice does sound a little deeper in.
Pick is in. They say. Let us see who it is. They're going to announce it. Max Anderson.
Max
college
Anderson.
infielder. Another second baseman.
All right.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about that pick because he might have to move to first base even. Like the
no, but here's the rest of your haircut to afford.
Sure.
The
McGonigal.
We're all chill, folks.
Yeah, the comp they put on, like, he can hit. There's not a whole lot of debate there. The comp that I think they had on Pipeline was Max Muncy, as that level of kind of like you can hide him at second base maybe, but he probably deserves to be first baseman.
Well, I mean,
Max Muncy. Ooh.
Yeah, right.
I mean, yeah, if he hits like that, yeah, who the hell cares?
I think the big overwhelming theme here is just everybody. Well, Clark is, I guess, more of an all-around guy, but I mean, it seems to be a very bat-first type of class we have forming.
And so it's interesting. So the for me, watching Max Anderson, it's kind of like you're getting a later version of Gonzalez from Ole Miss. I think he doesn't cover the zone as well with his bat head, but I think he just does a good job of getting the bat to the ball. I mean, this is just in a handful of clips that I watched leading into this, but it just kind of is that same. He's going to be hit over power, it seems like, and can cover the zone pretty well with his bat.
Yeah, and there's supposedly juice in there in the bat. I think they said that most of his power was kind of the opposite field this year. I'm looking at the scouting report.
And the numbers, too, from the Cape Cod League are encouraging, too. So that's always a plus sign.
That tells you I didn't do my homework as well as I should have for this guy, but I didn't think he was in play, to be fair, for today.
And he did lead the Big Ten in hitting. So with a .410 batting average. So again, this is a pick that I don't know too much about outside of just I watched a little. I actually watched Nebraska and MSU once, but that was basically it.
I wrote about him in our draft preview series. I can open it up possibly. The site is not working for me right now. But let's see what I said. yesterday.
All right. Well, if you guys, like I said, thank you. If you guys want to get going, that's totally fine. I'm not trying to kick you guys off, but I know it's running late for you guys. But again, thank you, Rhys, and wow, I am exhausted. I'm really sorry. Trevor, I know your name.
I've been on the pods. I think you know my name. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said,
I do have stuck out, but thank you for the invite.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you guys.
See you guys.
We'll see you.
All right.
Yeah. Ever since I got out of the pool, Chris, I have not been still a little
You
out
got
of it. It sounds like I have a little bit of cold.
Maybe the water got into your upper sinuses. And,
Yeah.
Yeah. So I will just read what I wrote. It's not terribly informative. I said Max Anderson. I had him as a first baseman. Said he didn't actually play much first base for the Cornhuskers, but there seems to be some serious doubt about his ability to stick at second or third. That shouldn't be too much of a problem, though, because Anderson shows an impressive mix of contact ability and power to all fields. He does have a tendency to swing outside of the zone, though, so he's probably ticketed for the second or third round. So, and where did he go? Second
Right.
round.
Yeah. Interesting. The profile of tendency to swing out of the zone and be paired with Scott Harris. But if it's a high contact rate, then that kind of nullifies that, I guess, to an extent.
I'm looking to see why I said that. I'm trying to find his, the swing and contact and all that good stuff here, but I'll let you know when I find it.
All right. On that note, while Chris finds out, we'll be wrapping it up again. Thank you so much for everybody who's tuned in to pretty much the entire show. Again, I really, really appreciate the fan base tonight coming in and coming in and talking about the draft. I know some people came in for the good looks of Scott Bentley, and I really appreciate you guys taking time to talk while I am just, it's been a long last couple days, but really sincerely, thank you. This was one of our favorite times of year, and all the draft knowledge we did, it will be gone by Friday.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I learn all these players and then I forget about them until you see them in pro ball and go, oh yeah.
Right. Yeah. You see him in Double A 2 years later, and you're like, "Oh wait."
Yeah.
So I did find the contact info. We can end with this if you want. It's very similar to Matt Shaw actually. 81% contact rate, which is good. 90th percentile exit velo. 106.7 for Anderson. 106.9 for Shaw. So almost identical.
Nice.
The difference is Shaw 25% chase, Anderson 31% chase, which does make. I mean that's pretty high. But if the contact rate is high and the juice is in there, that might be okay. It does seem a little interesting for what we think the Scott Harris draft profile is going to be, but it hits, I guess. So that'll be interesting.
Sure.
And so we'll have the podcast audio version cut down in 2 parts. So I'm going to do a little bit of editing, creative editing, and we're going to have this available on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen to the podcast. So there'll be some heavy editing to it. So it sounds sounds better on audio. And yeah, you can find the whole entire episode here on our YouTube channel replay. So we'll be back on Tuesday for the first half recap of the minor league season. Chris and I will be going over some of the storylines, Keith being one of them, of course. Pitchers, we're going to have our favorite players, underrated players that we may have gotten wrong. So, and we'll talk to you guys Tuesday again. Sincerely, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. This was a fun show. And next year, I think I'm just going to wear a mask. I'm going to do something different in the pool next year. I don't know. It's the pool's good. But Scott, maybe you come over and throw pie in my face or something. I don't know.
I'm down. I'm down, man. I'm down.
Something like that. But Scott, thanks again. And
hopefully,
we're long overdue to have you on the show again.
Yeah, I got to return the favor at some point too, so I got to figure that out as well. So we'll definitely.
Like I said, man, if you want former host Chris on, and then you have me on later on, that's cool with me, man.
Right. There you go. The first ever host.
Yeah, the first ever. So
you're still the teaser ad. It's hilarious.
It's been like 4 years.
Yeah, you're still there's a 15-second commercial for
hey,
this is Locked On Tigers. It's still you 4 years later. Yeah.
No need to replace it, I guess.
All right. Have a good night, everybody. We'll talk to you Tuesday.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Scott.